Tomorrow, the No Kings protests are going to kick off across the country, and we're expecting to see millions. But there is a fear that this will devolve into riots and violence late at night. Now, in Chicago, it's particularly pronounced. We've had 3 vehicle rammings. We've actually had technically 4 vehicle attacks because one DHS officer was attacked by a vehicle and dragged and then opened fire on the illegal alien. Things are getting pretty spicy. A federal judge says DHS in Chicago have to wear body cams. DHS can't have barriers around their facilities, and Trump can't deploy National Guard, creating a pile of tinder for tomorrow's protests. Now, the protests have actually already started. So we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but people are already showing up, which is actually kind of wild. Now, aside from that, we got a few other stories. The Supreme Court is actually, there's an appeal from Trump, the Supreme Court, over the use of the National Guard, which could change the game nationwide, making a determination from the court as to whether or not Trump can federalize and deploy National Guard without invoking the Insurrection Act. I think if Trump loses that, he will then invoke the Insurrection Act. And of course, you've got the Wall Street Journal warning Trump allies, quote, "You are not safe." Well, I figured that when they murdered Charlie Kirk, so sure. But the argument they're making is that you're not safe from Trump. Oh, please. We are not safe because far-left extremists have been getting increasingly more and more violent. And it's bifurcating, so it's going to get particularly weird tomorrow. Now, before we get into all that, we got a couple great sponsors for you. Got Beam Dream, my friends. Head over to shopbeam.com/TimPool and pick up your Beam Dream. I am the biggest fan of Beam. They give me a script to read. I don't need it because I love this stuff so much. I drink it every single night. It's got L-theanine, magnesium, melatonin in it. The magnesium is really what helped me. I zeroed in on that because I skate a lot. I would get really bad cramps. It would affect my sleep. Even when I wasn't exercising too heavily, I'd wake up tossing and turning. I started drinking Beam Dream every night, and my sleep score for my Sleep 8 mattress skyrocketed. I'm now averaging like 90 to 95 or better. I woke up like last week, 100, like a perfect sleep score. This is a delicious cup of hot cocoa. You drink it right before bed, and it's got all the good stuff to help you sleep, and it tastes great. 15 calories, no added sugars, no junk, no fillers. This is their cinnamon cocoa flavor. This one's my favorite, but I also just got the salted caramel one, and I like the brownie batter. So check out shopbeam.com/TimPool. Pick up your Beam Dream tonight. We also have Bearskin. These hoodies are absolutely amazing, by the way. You know what? There's too many pockets. They have so many pockets. It's actually incredible. The pockets have pockets. I'm not joking. I was wearing this the other day because I was riding my bike around, my electric bike. And there's an inside pocket, which becomes another pocket, and then has a zipper on the back to be another pocket. It's very impressive. So you guys know about Bearskin. I wear it on the show every so often. We'll probably wear a lot more now that winter's coming around. Smart people are locking in their winter gear now, right? It's 45 degrees outside where we are in West Virginia. You need this hoodie. Hands down, it's the best time to prep for winter. And Bearskin's running a 60% off deal right now, but only if you get your hoodie early. The hoodie is built like a tank, 340 GSM microfleece, 10 pockets with a clean, rugged fit. It looks awesome. Plus, it zips right into the heavy storm rain jacket to become 100% waterproof when you need it. So whether it's cold, wet, windy, you're not scrambling at the last minute. You'll get free shipping, fast delivery, and you'll lock in your gear early. It's a win-win. Do yourself a favor. Text Tim to 36912 to lock in your 60% off. Again, that's Tim to 36912. You'll get a link straight to your phone so you can check it out later if you're busy right now. One more thing, when you support Bearskin, you're also supporting the Fallen Outdoors and Hope for the Warriors Veterans Program. So you're not just buying great gear, you're backing a cause that matters. Don't wait until you're freezing to get your hoodie. Get Bearskin now while it's still 60% off. You can go to BAER.SKIN/Tim or text 36912 and you'll get 60% off. Check it out. Don't forget to also smash that like button. Share the show with everyone you know. That's the most important thing you can do. And I have an additional announcement. I am proud to say that today on my live stream with the CEO of Liquid Death, Mike Cesario, I won $1 million from this man. And he had made a bet live that his website never stated. They gave 10% of their per can profits to fight plastic pollution. I asked him if he wanted to make a bet. We'll show the clip a little bit later on. And he said yes, $1 million. I asked him if he was sure. And then I pulled up his website archive that literally says it. So at the top of the show, I am asking Liquid Death to fulfill this pledge, this $1 million bet, by writing a check to 5 Gyres. It's a nonprofit they already work with to fight plastic pollution. Write a $1 million check pony up, be honorable. You lost the bet. Make this donation of $1 million liquid death to 5 gyres to fight plastic pollution. It's a win-win. I think you should do it. We'll talk a little bit more about it later on. But we got a big house. We got a packed house tonight for the show. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more, we've got Graham Linehan.
Hey, hello.
Who are you? What do you do?
I was a sitcom writer. Pretty successful in the UK for a number of years. And then the left went insane and sort of achieved cultural dominance over there. And I just got into trouble for saying that men shouldn't be in women's rape crisis centers in sports.
They arrested you.
They arrested me recently, yeah, at the airport, 5 armed officers. The plane stopped. When a plane stops, usually everyone's just out of their seat. But we were all told to stay in our seats, and I was looking around with everyone else. Oh, this is interesting. What's going on here? And then they called my name, So I thought, I immediately knew what it was. And I went out and there were 5 there. And I've been met at airports by police before. In New Zealand, they were just there just to make sure, well, they were probably keeping an eye on me, but they were also trying to make sure that there was no trouble at any of the events we did. So we worked with them quite closely. But here, they just brought me to a side area and just said, you're under arrest,
And you're not British.
No, I'm Irish.
A lot of people assume that you are a British citizen being arrested. No, this is a foreign country arresting you. You're just a tourist then in the UK.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't go that far. I lived in the UK for most of my life,
Okay.
And I did make a career there. I paid taxes there. Still pay taxes there. I'm trying to get out.
It's even worse for them to arrest you then. You're paying taxes to these people and they lock you up.
I paid for my own detainment. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but anyway, they got me to the cell. They told me there were 3 tweets that had got me into trouble. One of which said something like, if a man is if a trans-identified man is in a female-only space, he is committing an abusive act. I said, make a scene, call the cops, and if all else fails, punch him in the balls. And that was a joke. That was a joke about the height differential. And it was like another joke about the fact that most of these guys are calling themselves trans, but they're not transsexuals. They're cross-dressers. So, when I wrote the joke, I thought, that covers a few things. Good work for the day. But this guy complained, made it all about himself. And at the moment, the police in the UK, they are just, they've changed their role. Their role now is not to catch bad guys. They're working for bad guys.
Yep.
And they are basically keeping a increasingly angry and frightened population under control.
Yeah. We'll get into it in greater detail for sure as we go through the show. So I appreciate you hanging out. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We've got another.
Thanks for the invite.
We got someone who snuck here today. He somehow managed. Yeah. How did you? What's going on?
Oh, well, I'm Tayler Hansen, and I'm a field reporter and documentarian. And we did a nice little show screening today. We'll keep it at that. But yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, you planning on sticking around for the riots tomorrow?
I wish. My flight out, I might have to extend my flight. I don't think anything will happen in D.C. If I do go, it's going to have to be Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago's the hotbed. We'll talk about it in a second. Seamus is hanging out.
My name is Seamus Coughlin. I have created over 600 animated cartoons with my team because you can't win the culture war if you're not making culture. And as I'm sure you've all noticed, our media is dominated by far leftists who hate our country, who hate our way of life, who hate our faith, and who hate our families. And they've been slowly chipping away at that through propaganda for decades. So myself and my team have entered the fight. We're making a half-hour-long TV-length show that we're just going to post online. Our pilot's already finished. It's 25 minutes long. If you guys go over to twistedplots.com and support the show, you'll get access to it. We have many years of experience creating cartoons. We've got the experience. We've got the track record. We've got the team. If you give us your support, we will be unstoppable. Go over to twistedplots.com and support the mission.
If 250 people give Seamus $1,000 each, he's done.
That's true. We're halfway there.
Or
We're halfway
25
there right
people giving $10,000.
That's true. That could also happen. Or
easily
you could go and give whatever amount you're able to give to help us reach this goal and join the fight.
Libby's hanging out.
I am hanging out. I'm Libby Emmons. I'm glad to be here. I'm the editor with the Post Millennial. After Seamus's big pitch, I just want to say I threw in for Seamus's show.
Thank you.
And you should too.
And of course, there's one person who's siding.
I'm going to invest my time in Seamus.
Thank you, brother.
It was worth it. I've been studying AI, you guys. Sora. Sora's new AI. You can upload your face
Sora
into
2.
Sora. It takes like 30 seconds. And
Dude,
then,
that pool water commercial you made was nuts.
oh my gosh, maybe we can play it. I
Crazy.
spun it up in 15 seconds. So you go to Sora.com and at Ian
and your
Crossland,
voice,
you
too.
can make me do anything.
Your voice.
Yeah.
How did you? That's crazy.
You do 30 seconds of you saying numbers and then turning your head. And
Do you have an account on Sora?
Yeah.
You need a code for that, though, don't you?
No, I signed up with Sora, then I got ChatGPT Pro because you can make higher definition 15-second videos. But man, put your face in because AI.
So when I've
ChatGPT 's
tried
like,
signing up for Sora too, and it was like you need a code to upgrade.
I can send you one then.
Okay,
I got
let's do it.
6 with my.
Oh,
when
okay,
I
good.
signed up.
Let me get it.
Oh my gosh, Sam Altman, who runs OpenAI, says in 2 years anyone's going to be able to make video of anyone doing anything.
Movies,
So-
bro.
I don't like it. Well, and
I'm gonna be like, I want-
I don't like it either. Definitely don't like
Bro,
it.
I don't
gonna
like it.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
make a Spider-Man movie where Spider-Man is Seamus.
Yeah, dude, put your face in Sora.
Basically, already is.
What Jake Paul's in it, so get your face in now. I mean, I think the ethos is true. We are all going to be able to make videos of everyone doing anything with open source AI. So get ahead of the curve and
Can you send me
get
a
people
code right
involved.
now
Yeah,
on Slack?
yeah.
All right, we're gonna start. Let's do the show. We have a show to do, right?
Beautiful.
Here's the story from Fox News. Millions expected to flood the streets at No Kings protest targeting Trump across all 50 states. More than 2,500 No Kings events are planned across all 50 states, and they've actually already begun. Take a look at this video, which I hope doesn't get us in trouble. We don't need that. This guy's wearing a French maid outfit.
Guys, this is a grandma.
It says Tylenol on it.
And
This is who I expected to be there, by the way.
and does he have
Exactly.
furry
Yeah,
ears?
definitely.
If I was doing a casting
Wait, he's
call,
got furry ears too.
Lip piercings as well.
I am a paid Antifa terrorist disguised as a grandma. She admits it.
yeah, paid by Social Security. What's my money going towards? This is crazy, man. When I hosted the show when you were gone last Thursday, we were talking about the No Kings protests and where they were going to be, and I called it out. I said, so all these little dots, this is a map of every nursing home in the United States. And you look at the video, turns out I was completely correct.
During the daytime, it's like 80%. Like there's insufferable boomers that hate their children.
It's
and then
very
nighttime
sad.
comes out, and then
They hate
Antifa
their children,
creeps in.
but also they think they're still rebelling against their parents.
Yes.
You know,
it's
that's
such
a
a
big
Their parents
part
are
of it.
dead.
Their
There's
parents
no
are
need.
dead, but they still think that, first of all, they have not accepted that they have aged substantially. So they think that, 80 is the new 20, basically. And they are still rebelling against this generation that they feel has kept them down, even though this was the boomers were the wealthiest generation who tucked aside the most wealth, who are not going to have to trouble their kids for the most part to pay for their old age and don't even want to see us on top of everything else. Like they don't even want to be part of what we've got going on.
Yeah.
It's very sad to see, man. Because there are obviously some super cool boomers. My parents are from the boomer generation, right?
Sure,
I got
mine
no
too.
hate to
Yeah.
anyone based on when they were born. Lots of cool boomers. But it drives me crazy when you have these old hippie boomers who are like, I did everything I could to fight for birth control. Where are my grandkids? You're like, do you not understand what you spent your life doing? Like, do you know how you changed the country that you live in?
No, but then I don't think you're aware of this. There's all these boomer grandparents who are too busy traveling the world to spend any time with their
That's
grandparents
so
at
sad.
all, and they're just not that interested in their grandkids. Rather, they just don't want to go visit them. I've talked to other friends of mine who are my age. We all have kids, and it's like, "Where's your mom?" I have no idea. Japan, maybe. I don't know.
Well, and it's this funny thing too, because like when boomers complain about millennials and Zoomers, I'll also be like, I totally hear you. I totally hear you guys. You did raise them, but I agree with the criticisms on both sides. Unfortunately, man, you got bad people in every generation.
But this No Kings thing, the thing that I think is crazy about it is it's such a straw man protest name. There are no kings. Trump is not a king. He knows he's not a king. None of us who voted for Trump thought he was going to be a king. We know that he's not a king. We don't
I wish
want
he
a
was a
king.
king.
Well, Libby,
No
you got to
one really
remember.
wants a king. Like
That's
it's-
why I
it's
found
fake.
the
It's
name
fake news.
confusing.
Yeah.
I always thought, this must be. I didn't know which side it was coming from.
Well, I
And
can
in
actually
Canada,
clarify.
Of course, they have to call it the No Tyrants protest because they have a king.
Well, exactly, and I can kind of clarify why it's called No Kings. Like the average age here was around when we rebelled against King George. So to them, it's really important that there isn't another monarchy in the U.S.
But isn't it strange though? I mean, even with all the explanations about the way boomers have gone a bit crazy. I mean, they really there's a kind of a viciousness and an aggressiveness that I guess you see slightly mirrored in the Antifa side. But I think it comes from what you're saying, the straw man aspect, because they're not really fighting against anything substantial. There's not been maybe the ICE deportations. Maybe they could have an argument about it, but he caught, didn't he, we were saying earlier, he caught all the top 10 most wanted in his first few hundred days, I believe. He seems to have sorted out Israel and the Palestinians, at least temporarily. What are you what are they arguing? What are they worried about?
They don't know. I mean, that's the thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Is if you actually go through and start trying to press one of these former hippies on what it is that they hate about Trump, you'll say, "Are you for open borders?" No. Do you think men should be playing women's sports? Well, for the most part, they say no. You ask them these questions. Do you think that our culture should be destroyed by immigration? Do you think there should be no assimilation? Like, what do you think? And eventually it all comes down to they just don't really like the guy.
Yeah.
They don't like his tone of voice. They don't like the way he says things. And when they say things like, they'll say, well, he's deporting American citizens. And you'll be like, oh, the Louisiana man who was actually an immigrant who it turns out fought for the side of Gaza on October 7th, that guy who they arrested yesterday, this Maryland guy who's actually a gang member. No, they don't have any information. They're very low information.
Yeah.
And they just don't like him.
The risk for tomorrow is that all of these factors, it's like a recipe in a cauldron. You can't have the National Guard, they said. Chicago police will not respond to assist federal law enforcement. They cannot have riot control munitions. They can't use those without under certain circumstances, and they can't have barriers around the ICE facility. It's all of these rules have put in place in the past couple of weeks, which basically are saying, and on top of this,
About them.
and you have the cartels offering bounties on these guys.
And you saw they took the fence down in Broadview.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They can't have the barriers. So right now, the cartels are like 50 G's ahead, and police won't respond. They can't do anything about it. Tomorrow is all of these things thrown in the cauldron. It's a powder keg, and they've lit a match.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think going back to the fact that a lot of these people, unfortunately, uncritically trust the media, one thing we take for granted as younger people is that amongst our generation, trusting what you hear on TV is very stupid coded. Like if somebody tells you they get their information from the corporate press, you go like, okay, this guy's kind of dumb. But for older generations, that wasn't necessarily the case because we were in a high trust society where like, of course you wouldn't expect that people who had the social infrastructure to communicate the best would be lying to you. My grandfather, God rest his soul, very good man, good Catholic man, very conservative, fought in the Second World War, liberated a concentration camp. Even my dad would talk about how he just had a generally negative view of protesters, including protesters who were protesting for good causes, because that was something he got from the media, and his generation just kind of had those blinders. It's less bad for the boomers than it was for the generation above them in many ways, but it's still very much present. They really do believe what they hear on TV. And I'm not the one who coined this term. Someone tweeted this, but they said you got to remember when you're arguing with a lot of these people, you're actually arguing with the television set. They are literally just stuck on a loop.
Yeah.
My hope is that in the future I'm arguing with the YouTube player and all they watch is Freedom Tunes.
Exactly. They only see Freedom Tunes and Twisted Plots. Go to twistedplots.com.
Liberalism used to be pretty awesome until the internet. Like these people that actually will call themselves a liberal, I feel like are living in a sort of ignorance about what has happened to liberalism. Liberalism, as far as I see it, is like you're having a party, your buddy comes over and he's like, hey, you're like, hey, and he's like, hey, I brought a friend of mine from out of town. You're like, hey, and his buddy's like, hey, good to meet you. I have an accent. And you're like, come on in, meet everybody. He integrates, everybody meets. But when your buddy comes to the party, he's like, I brought some friends, and there's like 7 dudes, and one of them's looking at the ground, not making eye contact, not speaking. You're like, come into my party, I guess.
And then,
that's where we're at now.
And then, hold on, Ian, you're right. And then you go, sure, I guess you can come in. We're going to order pizza. No pizza, crab juice. We don't have crab juice. I say crab juice.
And then the cops come running by and they're like, we saw 4 guys that wouldn't make eye contact. Where did they go? And you're like, what has liberalism become? So, and a lot of people have seen that and just moved away from that ideology. And the internet is bombarding liberalism, the ideas of liberalism, which are supposed to be acceptant of new concepts, just getting hit from every angle with the global culture war. And then obviously the mass immigration obliterates a liberal society.
The thing that always confuses me about it is that they can't see the contradictions, Like you have the famous one, the one that just kind of encapsulates all of it is the Queers for Palestine thing, Like they wouldn't survive a second in most, Islamic countries,
Well, and it's not just that. I mean, the Queers for Palestine are also super pro-abortion, and abortion is illegal in Gaza.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to do that. And in most of the Middle Eastern countries, that's not something that you're permitted to do.
But I think these things
Conservative
go hand in
religious
hand.
rule.
Well, I think these things actually go hand in hand. I've mentioned this before. What a lot of people don't realize about the left is the unfortunate reality is many of these people are just very angry, bloodthirsty people. They hate Christians. They hate innocent life. And so they're going to side with people who they understand to be enemies of Christianity and of the West. Like, it's not a coincidence.
Right.
It's because, and by the way, I'm not saying that having like any concern about Palestine automatically makes you one of these people, but I am saying, like, when they say we need to import a bunch of Muslims into first world countries, it's not because they don't realize that it's going to destroy that country. It's because they want it to happen.
Well, they actually seek the destruction of this.
Yes.
We were talking about this last week on Culture War with Andy No, and I was just like, why is this? Why is it that they want to destroy the West? And that's something that I can't quite figure out.
Demons.
I mean, you had a great show about demons. That was fascinating.
We're doing another one. We're getting a real exorcist this time.
Yeah, I was. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Terrifying.
I think that's actually on the schedule.
Didn't you guys have an exorcist on before? I can't remember.
No, he was just a priest.
Okay, he was a priest, but
And
he
he-
knew about demons.
He consulted on demons and exorcisms, but I think
that would be nuts.
yeah. Yep.
thinking about this
November 7th, we're getting an actual exorcist.
Oh,
wow. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I don't know if you want to be there for that.
I think I might.
That's the week you're going to be here, isn't it?
I'd
I
love
think
to
it's
be there.
that week or the week after. I need to double check.
If you're,
we'll be
if
back.
there's room, we should both do that, dude.
Yeah, dude, that would be super cool.
Exercise.
Actual exorcist.
Hey, who are you saying about who's destroying the West and doesn't know why?
Oh, the left seeks to destroy the West, and they keep opening all of the doors to do it. And like, if you look at like the history of Europe and the Crusades and everything, that was after, like a century or something of Islamic invasion into Europe. And now we have like Islamic invasion into Europe and into the United States. And it's part of the Quran, I think, that says the first thing you do is you go there and then play a victim.
So let's start this conversation off by asking you, Graham, you're Irish, and you were mentioning before the show that it's getting pretty serious in Ireland. We were talking about, you said it was in the city of Cork.
Yeah,
The most common name is now Muhammad.
I'm pretty sure it was Cork that the most common name is Mohammed. Yeah. And it just seems to be, there doesn't seem to be any planning behind what's going on. It just seems to be, get them in. Whatever you can do, get them in. It's like an emergency.
So the funny thing is, because you're saying like the left seems to just want to do this. One of the talking points that has been prevalent for the past several years is that Sinn Féin, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, they were the party of Ireland for the Irish, weren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now they're the party of open the gates and let every non-Irish person come in.
Yeah, and they're the party of any left wing view that they think gets them on the front foot.
That's one way to destroy Irish nationalism, I guess.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the things they support are just like antithetical to everything they've been fighting for. It's so strange. But they're also big into the trans thing as well. And it's like,
How Irish? Like, what an Irish tradition, right?
Exactly. But like the biggest problem is not so much like the activists themselves. The problem is the media landscape, which just has it all locked down. So you cannot talk about these things. There's a guy who just brought out a book. I think it's called Vandalizing Ireland, I think is the name of it. And he writes about all this, and it's just not being stocked in bookshops. Like my memoir wasn't. My memoir was hidden in bookshops and stuff like this. And when I was arrested the other day, a few weeks ago, there wasn't a report on RTE, and I'm the writer of a sitcom that's really beloved by Irish people,
I think well known by even people in the United States.
Yeah, especially if they're into UK comedy, but it's crazy. It's just so locked down. You cannot really find out what's going on, and it's not a country that's like the most. Even though we host a lot of people like Apple and stuff like that, that's another reason why the place has gone very woke, because all their engineers are woke, and it's they're not the type. Irish people, I think now they're kind of turning and they're going to different sources for information, and some of them are good and some of them aren't, So, but unfortunately, they have no guidance. They've no way of knowing what's up and what's down, because the Irish media is just not doing their job.
What is Irish media like, if you don't mind me asking?
Very woke at the moment, insanely woke. There was a funny thing where when Jimmy Kimmel got his got thrown off the show for 3 days.
Poor guy.
Yeah. This guy who hosts a show over there said, "Come over here, Jimmy. We'll let you say anything you want, anything the fuck you want." You know.
Oh, edgy.
Yeah. And of course they've never invited me on. They've never invited Ellen Joyce on. You know, who's a genius on all this stuff. And they're. I've never seen anything like it. It is like the whole place is just lying by omission.
Exactly. Well, this is funny because one thing you'll hear from people in the UK and these lefties in the UK is they'll go, by European standards, the United States is a far-right country. I'm like, yeah, by European standards, not going to jail for Facebook posts is far-right.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of comfortable with being considered far-right by all standards.
I mean, to be fair, even in the UK, my arrest provoked like complete disbelief and disgust.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
It was actually surprising to me that there was a reaction even among corporate media in the United States that your arrest was shocking.
Yeah.
There were outlets that I'm like, these are libs who cheer for this stuff are shocked now that you got arrested for your naughty words.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. And I'm just the most visible. I know so many women who've been thrown in a cell who've had, like, there's one woman. Her name is Caroline Farrow. She lives in Sussex, and she's been harassed by the same small group of men for about 10 years.
You know what's actually interesting. Just before we started the show, I pulled up a clip from Father Ted where there's a sticker on the window.
Yeah.
The Chinese guys are walking up, and he's waving to them, but then from their point of view, they see the small mustache, and they call and he's doing the Roman salute, and then they turn around and walk away, and he's like, "Why are they leaving? Why?" And then it turns around, and you see him going. The funny thing is, it's a very similar joke to what Count Dankula did. Are you familiar with what?
Oh, not only am I familiar, I joined in his cancellation when I was in my lefty NPC days.
You joined in?
I did.
Thank you.
In fact, I recorded an apology for his roast. And they played it at his roast. And basically, I just believed the narrative, which was that at the time, you see, the thing I didn't understand was that every single journalist was lying to me.
Right.
And there was this thing.
Rookie mistake.
There was this thing of they're using comedy to disguise, but they're actually really Nazis. And I bought it. I just swallowed it because it was the media I was consuming.
And you know what's crazy is that he was probably inspired by you.
Yeah, exactly. And he was nice, and he tried to make approaches, and other fans of his were nice, and I just couldn't see it. I couldn't accept it, and I think one thing I'm useful for now is that I can see when other people are in that zone where they're just not allowing anything in that will change their mind, because they're worried they'll end up on a podcast with Tim Pool.
Well, what changed it for you to where you realized they were lying to you?
I'm not. I think it was just seeing how the trans thing was being misreported. It was always they're not letting trans girls play sports. And most people, if you ask them what trans girls means, they think people mean trans-identified women, right? Yeah. And they don't.
Well, because they have these mental acrobats of vocabulary that you have to, jump through all of these hoops to try and understand what's going on.
Yeah, I always say it's a very simple thing, just opposite. Trans means opposite. So.
Exactly. That's what I always say. Trans means it's a prefix indicating is not a.
Yes. So trans healthcare is mutilation, is sterilization. It's the opposite to healthcare.
It's not life-saving?
No. Right.
Yeah, I was told repeatedly.
Life-shortening.
Right.
Life-shortening.
It is. It's
like, did you know, like, for instance, this is one of the things I've learned in the last few years. And again, these are the type of thing that I thought, I'll tell people this and someone will rush in to stop it, And it was that all these young girls who you see on testosterone, right? And the young women with mustaches who look like, when they there's an effect when they stand next to trans women, it looks like Lord of the Rings. Because the size difference is so crazy. And but the serious thing about it is that all these young women have been told they're turning into young gay men. A lot of them are like have romanticized gay relationships beyond all recognition, and so they've been told they'll turn into young gay men. The truth is, they're all going to go into menopause too early.
Yeah,
and menopause is no joke, And so all these young girls have been told, oh, you'll be accepted in gay spaces, and they're not being accepted either. That's another thing.
For some reason, no one holds the gay men to account and says, hey, if you're not attracted to these mutilated women, then you're transphobic. No one tells the gay men.
It's always the trans women, right? It's always like, if you're not attracted to trans women, you're a transphobe. It's like, guess which side I'm going to pick in that.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're going to call me a mean name if I'm not attracted to a trans woman? The horror.
Yes, and so the straight men don't care.
Yeah.
And really what ends up happening is lesbians end up being told that they have to be interested in these fake women. And young women who have transitioned go into early menopause and can't get a date anyway.
There's a great comic somebody
disaster.
made, and apparently this is based on real situations that have actually occurred, but someone made a really funny comic where there's a woman with her trans woman friend, and she's like, oh, like, don't worry, I set you up with another woman, and the trans woman's all excited, and then gets there and sees that it's another trans woman, like, you should have set me up with an actual woman, how could you do this to me, and starts screaming at her.
One thing that's crazy is modern dating apps as well.
Yes.
I was reading like a Reddit thread. I guess I'm lucky. I got the last chap out of Nam. I'm married. I have a kid.
Yeah.
The younger generation, though, I was reading something on Reddit where they were saying that they were getting sick of using Tinder because it was like every other woman, it was a man saying they were a woman.
Yeah.
And they were like, I don't even want any, not even 1%. But because they say I'm legally a woman, they go on dating apps and put themselves down as women.
Oh, I've got an incredible story about that. You know Grindr, the gay
Yeah.
app? So young girls are now going on Grindr saying they're gay men. Right? Because they've been told that they will be accepted as gay men, and they are not being accepted as gay men. But what is happening is there's been this huge kind of influx of straight men pretending to be gay and predating on these young women.
Oh,
What?
wow.
Yeah.
So
Are those relationships working out? I feel like they might be onto
they're
It's
something.
just a straight relationship with extra steps.
There was
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But the women think the guys are gay and think, oh, he's accepting me for being a gay.
But it's just
man.
like a guy who likes butch women with like beards.
Exactly. Although there was one discussion. This is how horrific it is. There was one discussion. This guy was saying to another guy, "I swear to God, they're all so desperate, and if you get in early, you can get there before any of the testosterone takes effect."
Oh, that's so sad.
You know. So this is the time. And then if a gay man goes up and complains about it, they get thrown off. You know.
Let's get back to the news.
This is what I've always. I just want to make this one point. And this is my. Of course, Seamus is going to come in and say this is a Catholic, but like, as soon as we abandon these traditions, the new thing always falls apart immediately. Immediately.
How do you think, as from the Catholic perspective, because the Catholic Church used to tell people, repeat the virtues, the 7 virtues. Like you
You mean
say
like
it.
in Catholic schools, maybe?
Or in maybe a church
I guess I
or
hadn't
whatever.
heard of. I hadn't
They
heard of.
reinforce the virtuous part, and then we don't force speech now in the United States. We have free speech. So how do you reinforce it without coming across preachy, without being forceful?
No, it's a good question. I think that a lot of it is parents just have to live the values out, and they have to understand them well enough to explain them to their children. And I think it's difficult to say there's any kind of school system you can trust to teach them that. But virtue is so important because you are just much easier to control if you're living in vice. There's so many things the system can dangle in front of you and say, we'll remove your access to this, that, or the other because you value that thing more than your own dignity.
Did you see, Ian, you've heard about this, right? Where they hooked the electrode up to the rat's brain and it would press the button, it would stimulate the dopamine. And then all it would do is just keep hitting the button. It wouldn't eat.
That's us. That's what this is. That's what this thing is that I keep pressing. It gives me like a dopamine hit.
Right now, there are people watching on their phone, just staring at it as we talk.
If you're in the machine and the machine is telling you about the 7 virtues and it's just telling you all day, that's different than actually embodying the virtues or seeing your father embody the virtue. Because like the dad can tell you one thing and then do another thing, and you're gonna mimic his behavior, not his words.
Amen.
We're going to shift it way back to the news. We have this from the Post Millennial. Antifa calls for members to embed with No Kings protesters to, quote, show them what anti-fascism really looks like. The No Kings March is meant to pacify the people. It is organized by feds with an interest in quelling meaningful and effective social uprising. Well, I don't agree with that second part. I think it's organized by far leftists to create cover for Antifa to get violent.
I think that's right, yeah.
And attack cops because this is their MO. They've done it for a very, very long time. But fascinatingly, Jimmy Kimmel said earlier, or said the other day, there is no Antifa.
Oh, yeah.
They don't exist. And it's funny because I then just pulled up the International Antifa Defense Fund where they talk about giving member groups resources that they've raised internationally. And the first question is like, how do you determine who is not Antifa and who is to receive the funds you've described?
Look, if we don't
they have to be members of a group.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, there's Rose City Antifa, Atlanta Anti-Fascists, there's New York Antifa. There are various chapters, and he goes, there's no membership, dude. There's no memberships. It is terrifying how Jimmy Kimmel brazenly lies about this stuff. It's actually scary that he can do it.
Yeah, that's I find that the most fascinating thing about all of this, and it's been so hard to try and get an alternative approach to all this stuff out there. You know, it's crazy.
Well, part of it is that, I mean, there's a lot, there's a huge pipeline that is feeding progressive ideology to creators. Kamala Harris was just at the Getty Center, like a week and a half ago or something, as part of this talk. And this, what was it called? I forget what it's called. But anyway, it was an invite-only talk for Hollywood creators and writers. And she said, as part of her talk, take everything you've learned here, take all of these ideas and give them to your characters, put them into your storylines. So we're getting, all of this stuff is coming straight from the progressive ideologue, straight from the far left. It's being, it's being piped into all of our creative people, all of our writers, all of our directors, all of our, streamers on the left. And then it's just being spoon-fed to us. And we don't even notice that our entire entertainment culture is steeped in leftist ideology. And we just don't even see it, and that's how you end up with everyone in America thinking that the left has a moral authority, which they don't have.
And this is exactly why we are making Twisted Plots, because the way the left has gotten their ideas across isn't by having a character in the middle of the film read the Democratic Party platform to you. They tell stories where the characters are built in a specific way and the story is told in a specific way so that the lesson you come away from the story with is a left-wing one. And what we're trying to do with Twisted Plots is do that, but with like good, true right-wing messaging.
Or what they do is they completely subvert the entire concept of the hero story and gender impose like different people on top of that hero's story and then make it seem like what is actually real and good and lasting and thousands of years old is garbage. And try and give you this new way that you should live your life. And the next thing you know, your daughters have beards and are being
that's right.
predated on by straight men on Grindr.
Help us make better culture, twistedplots.com.
The entire idea that Antifa doesn't exist, that's due to media capture in the long run of it is. Ask any journalist who's actually covered, Portland, Chicago, any of these cities that have a large Antifa presence, is they are organized cells, and they identify that way as well when it's convenient for them when it comes to organizing, training, firearms training. I mean, down the street from me in Utah is where a lot of the SLC armed queer groups literally train with firearms every single day, and they do it as an organization. They have from the downwards all the way to the up is they're fully organized, but they always say when it's convenient to them, they say, oh, we're citing this journalist who says Antifa is actually just an idea. And what is show them what anti-fascism really looks like, that ultimately is them saying, hey, we're going to show you what anti-fascism looks like. Who did they just murder that they proclaimed was a fascist that was a borderline moderate liberal in a lot of people's eyes? Like, they want you dead, and that's just the reality. They are organized, and they're willing to act on the violence.
Maybe they're just persuading them to join polycules.
To be anti-fascist as a philosophy can exist in different movements. Like liberalism is anti-fascist inherently. Communism is anti-fascist. It wants no state. These guys, their anti-fascist movement is a communist anti-fascist
It's more
movement.
anarchy, isn't it? It's more like anarchism.
I think for sure it's anti-statehood. They want no walls, no
It's
kings.
not anarchy. It's closer to
communist.
communism.
But the thing is, it's more vanguardist. They don't want a real communism. They want to put a small group of people in power. And, real communism, you can't, as soon as the vanguard gets in, they take over the government. That's what these same groups. So call them they're masking behind the whole "we don't like fascism" bullshit.
They're
a communist, authoritarian, and they're vanguardist.
Well, they're Marxist authoritarians. That's the best way to put it. Is they just don't want the people that have power to have power, and the institutions that do, like prisons. You hear that rhetoric a lot. Is they're anti-prison, abolish prisons, abolish ICE. But what are they going to do when they get in power? They're then going to establish their own systems that discriminate against the people that they think are "quote unquote" fascist. That's all it is.
A prison abolitionist is someone who doesn't think rapists and murderers should go to jail and will throw you in a gulag if you disagree.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're going to prison, but you're going to a work camp this time. Have fun.
Truly think that this movement, this communist Antifa movement, wants to evoke a fascist crackdown from the government so that they can rally support to their communist movement from the community and be like, look, we told you the whole time they really are bad guys, and then try and establish a communist overthrow of the government.
Well, to do something like that, to have a communist overthrow, they would need support of a majority of the people.
Yeah, you would need, and they get that through their vicious imagery of a woman being taken from her child, drop by drop. It's really about enlightening the masses to the liberal economic order is failing. I mean, if you really want to look at it, what it looks like is happening is the liberal economic order is ushering in, because liberalism is getting obliterated by
What's
the
collapsing?
internet.
Yeah.
So it looks like corporatocracy may be, that's where the World Economic Forum wants a government of corporations, corporate governance. So they're ushering in chaos to break up the liberalism so that they can have corporatocracy.
Maybe there's a faction. I think the liberal economic order is failing and collapsing because it's on its third human generation, and they're struggling to maintain this system.
And you look at the communist system, which is a communist technocracy, and then the World Economic Forum, which is like a corporatocratic technocracy, and there's a bit of a struggle. I don't think that they want communism. The World Economic Forum loves its corporate governance. It's Apple, isn't going to be owned by the CCP. It's probably more powerful than the CCP.
Well, they're the ones who want those 15-minute cities, and they want everybody's home to be smart homes, and they want everyone driving electric cars so they can turn off your power if you misbehave and just keep you locked in. They're the social credit system people.
That's the technocracy aspect that is not capitalism. They want to get rid of capitalism and liberalism, and then so it's like, do you want a communist technocracy or do you want a corporatocratic technocracy? Because the United States right now is corporatocratic, but we're still like capitalist.
Right. Capitalism
Antifa,
works.
They think they're the good guys, and that's what makes them so dangerous in a lot of instances.
It's the
when in
moral
reality,
authority.
they're actually just the useful idiots that are being controlled by powers that be. But they think that this is all their own ideas, but it's not. None of it is their ideas. Like, they think they're the good people, but they're the ones posting up flyers of Charlie Kirk getting shot in the neck on college campuses and saying, kill your local fascist, when your local fascist is actually just a conservative guy with family values that has, a few children, but they don't like that. They want to break down every single system that's been established and has continuously worked all throughout our history. They're just anti anything that they don't believe in. And that's what makes them so dangerous, is they're willing to act violently and to infiltrate. Like what you're seeing with the No Kings protest is it's the boomers that come out at first, the ones that really believe that they're making a change by holding up their signs in the streets. But then Antifa, they infiltrate and attach themselves to any organization or any movement. You saw it with BLM in 2020. You see it with the pro-Palestinian encampments. They attach themselves to
now the
anything that is
cartels.
quote unquote revolutionary. I mean, like you said, they're literally backing the cartels right now.
Yeah.
So wild. Or a really great example is when you had these protesters against vax mandates and mask mandates outside of hospitals, and Antifa showed up and attacked them. And it's like, why did Antifa become the enforcers of corporate pharmaceuticals?
Yeah, that's the crazy thing.
It's weird.
Arms of the media. The media is manipulating them. It's the state media, and it's obviously not technically state media. It's corporatocratic. It's owned by the corporations, but it's manipulated by the liberal economic order to tell certain stories. In Ireland, and then these people are getting manipulated to do street crap for their agenda.
Yeah, and
They're
all the
just-
stuff that's like that the corporations don't necessarily go along with. It's not harmful to corporations, that's what I mean. I do think there's a trace of anarchism in this movement, in the idea of queering society. Queering society is a big thing for.
And it's a terrible
But
idea because
here's-
it's the end of
and I think-
society.
Well,
exactly.
this is-
But
Which
let's
means nothing works.
I always got to defend my anarchist friends because true.
I don't mean to cast aspersions on them. But they're lovely anarchists.
True anarchist philosophy has something called the non-aggression principle.
Right.
And so actual philosophical anarchists are not going to try and force anyone to do anything. They're going to try and persuade you to do it, because when we see these Antifa types, a lot of conservatives say they're violent anarchists. And I'm like, that's oxymoronic. A philosophy that eschews authority then using violence to enforce authority is paradoxical. These people are not anarchists.
Yeah.
They purport to be, but they are not. And I would actually argue that throughout history, the anarchists who were violent and terroristic were not anarchists.
Right.
Well, and so this is the thing. I've mentioned this before when we talk about increasing, or what was the term you used? Queerifying or
Queering?
Queering,
Yeah.
queering. These
Graham
things.
was just saying.
So the argument I've made is that leftism is essentially the intellectual rationalization for social decay. So as your society starts to break down, people begin to find excuses to allow that breakdown to occur. You know, why should I have to get married? Why should I have to work? Why should I have to basically engage in any of the customs people have always engaged in to keep society healthy? And if you look, you really scratch under the surface, every left-wing argument is some version of like, I should get to stay up all night eating fruit snacks instead of going to bed. It's like a child going, I don't like rules.
Yeah.
Well,
My
that's the
argument
boomer
is
thing too. The boomers are super childlike in their view.
the Libertarian Party.
Hippies, yeah.
The reason why it's never able to actually win is because it's a coalition of people who want something illegal to be legal, and that's the only thing they really agree on. So when you go there, you'll find a bunch of weird woke lefties, and basically they want some like weird porn or drugs to be illegal.
Yeah.
And then you'll find the anti-war libertarians who are like, we want to minimize the state. So the legitimate libertarians are surrounded by people who are like, I will join your coalition because you'll get rid of the laws that hold me back, as a matter of speaking.
Yeah. But there's and also it's very much aimed at kids. you
Yes.
know? Like I even saw a panel at some event called Queering Children's Literature, you know, and there was like this thing that came out a few years ago called Granddad's First Pride, and if you yeah, and it was like a little children's book for toddlers, you know, but if you looked at the drawings, you could see that there was one man with his shirt off, and he has like wounds across his chest. So it's
You know that
it's a woman with a mastectomy.
Grandpa Simpson's gay now.
They did that. And
No.
They
actually
gayed
did
Grandpa
it?
Simpson.
Yeah.
No.
They queer washed him, as I like to say.
That's really
They're
weird.
just queer washing.
Rubbed him with like
Straight
a
washing,
is
which
that-
is
Wet washcloth.
I don't know.
I thought
Is
he had
that-
dementia. Remember, he was just a minute ago screaming at clouds. And
I
now-
know. It was,
I know, it's crazy. Is he sure he's gay?
I don't know. Well, maybe he'll revert. Maybe the next episode they send him to conversion therapy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's gay.
Hilarious.
Just wait for it. There you go.
Oh my.
They made Grandpa Simpson gay, and then like he goes to bed and has a picture of his former gay lover or whatever. I think the show's argument was that he's actually not gay, but that he knew a gay guy when he was young and was weirded out by it.
Right.
Met back up with him later and decided to give it a try.
Oh, okay.
Right. I think that was
What, and it takes?
It's not the Grandpa Simpson I knew. This is not.
Well, you know, that's another thing though as well. I see the same thing with superhero movies. Is that if you're just constantly regurgitating the same product over and over again, there comes a point where the only innovation you can come up with is, let's make Grandpa Simpson gay.
Yes, exactly. And then they go, in a historic moment, this is the first time that the Flash has ever been in a throuple. And they do a whole news cycle about it.
That's it.
And then they do a whole other news cycle separately about how brave the actor is because they've gotten backlash from the far right.
Yeah. And they could do
also like the gay guy is shocked that Abe is kissing him, like, you know.
And also maybe not into it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
know?
this is
That looks like SA.
we should get him cancelled.
Yeah, exactly. Me too, Abe Simpson.
Right? He's faking it.
It's so gross.
also
Has
like-
to be forced into everything.
The other thing too is considering how old Simpson is, does it make sense that Abe Simpson's a World War II veteran anymore?
Well, it's changed so much. So actually, in the original Tracy Ullman shorts from the like mid to late '80s, I think he was actually a World War I vet. And then and then because that was in the late '80s. Yeah, I'm serious. Tracy Ullman shorts. I'm almost certain.
Grandpa
You can double check on this. But then
if he was
in the show,
if he was 89 years old in the Tracy Ullman short, that could make sense.
yeah, exactly. But then in The Simpsons, when it actually became a series in the '90s, yeah, you have that great episode with the flying hellfish.
Yeah.
Dude, that is a phenomenal episode. Get to Rome, fun boys.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a World War II veteran, and the timeline for that show floats so much. I bet Skinner isn't a Vietnam vet anymore either.
Yeah. What do you mean, Armin Tamzarian?
Yeah, Armin Tamzarian.
Yeah.
That was a big shark jump too.
They're portraying him in his military uniform, trying out being gay for the first time.
Yeah.
Like, how more disrespectful can that reminds me of like.
Whatever happened to Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
No, it reminds me of like when Antifa posts all the, the quote unquote memes of like all the World War II veterans, and it's like they were anti-fascist.
yeah.
So we're anti-fascist too. It's like, do you know what these guys believed in?
Oh no, I know. Well, this is the
Like,
Seamus has a
colored
cartoon
guy
about
moved
this.
into
Yes.
the neighborhood, and they'd be like, "Oh well, there goes the neighborhood."
Should we play that?
Yeah. I did this ages ago. But before we watched part of that cartoon, what I want to point out is these people will go, the men who stormed the beaches at Normandy were anti-fascist. And then they'll see the same guy 10 years later in the suburbs and go, a 1950s dad? That's a fascist.
Yeah.
Is this the video, Seamus?
Oh, yeah, this is
Fighting
an
Nazis.
ancient one. Fighting Nazis then versus now. I did this like 6 years ago.
folks, so as you know, Nazism is on the rise and we need to stop them, which is why I've invented a time machine to bring back the people who defeated Nazism in the first place.
Perfect.
Yes!
Hey, this ain't Normandy.
What gives? What year is it?
It's 2018!
Why did you say that so weird?
Sorry, force of habit. We brought you to the future because Nazism is on the rise in the US, and our president is sympathetic to them!
What?
Here's a pamphlet with all his positions.
Ah, this fella's disgusting.
Right?
This boiver thinks two men can get married. What?
And that a man who cuts his dongle off is a woman?
Sounds more like a commie to me, but hey, same difference. I'll kill either one.
That's not what's bad about him.
It gets worse. What else are these Nazis doing?
They believe there are only two genders.
Well, of course there's more than two genders. Thank goodness. Yeah, the Russians have their gender, the Germans have their gender, the Japanese have their gender. Everybody's got an agenda.
No, not agenda. Gender.
What the hell is gender?
Sounds like some kind of phony word popularized in the 50s to create a false distinction between one identity and their biological sex. Am I in the ballpark here? Your sex is whether you're male or female, but your gender is how you identify. So if you were born a man but want to become a woman, your gender identity is as a woman, and you therefore are a woman. No, it...
So you guys think men can be women?
Well, that's the biggest crock of nonsense I ever heard.
Yeah, none of this sounds like Nazism to me.
Well, how about this? He wants people to pay for their own birth control.
Oh, no. Yeah. Birth control is legal?
The guys who defeated Nazism are such Nazis.
You know, I don't like you pinkos going around telling people you're fighting Nazis just because you berate everyone you disagree with. You've never fought a Nazi in your life, and to claim otherwise is stolen valor.
Yeah. And you know what? When actual Nazis come around, no one's going to want to fight them anymore, because you guys keep crying wolf.
Now let's go back and win ourselves a war.
You know, I almost don't want to anymore. Wait! Don't go! We need you!
We need to say you're on our side so we can convince the greater whole of society to accept violence against dissidents who stand in the way of the social order we seek to establish.
And how exactly are they the Nazis?
Because I call them Nazis.
Well, you call men women, so...
That's a classic
Thank you.
Seamus.
Yeah,
chest
it's
hair.
weird to watch your own stuff because I'm like, the animation is not where it needs to be. And that was too wordy and that was it. But I'm glad you guys enjoyed it.
That was 2018.
Yeah, I made that in 20. And it's funny because I think I wrote it in like 2016 or 2017. And then I had, so we finished it in 2017, I think. And then we released it in 2018. So I had to update the line.
See, I think you guys got there faster than we did on all this stuff, but then I don't know what happened. It just doesn't seem like it's as in the UK. It is, as you were saying, Tim. The big thing that differentiates the left from the right now is this complete belief in three genders or multiple.
Yeah.
genders.
Well, so let's clarify that, because I was saying it before, and we were looking at all this news about Antifa, and then I was like, there seems to be one particulate issue that separates left and right.
Yep.
You can be pro progressive tax, you can be pro choice, you could universal health care,
Yes.
and then if you say men can't be women, you're far right.
Only thing. It's
You're
so
far right.
crazy. Yeah.
I would say also the race issue is another
think
big
so,
thing.
too.
If you don't agree with them on the race issue.
Certainly it's like a bell curve, but the trans issue is the peak of the mountain.
Well, there was such a crazy thing too. I mean, so you did this cartoon. You said you wrote it in 2016, 2017.
Yeah,
and then
a
it
while
came out
ago.
in 2018. That was really the beginning of when everything started to go absolutely insane. Like it had already
when I
been
was
building. Yeah, me too. 2018, and like that's sort of when. That's sort
I
of.
didn't need to be canceled. It was
just
over before
already
it
there.
started for me.
But like I remember the trans stuff. I started writing about the trans stuff also pretty early, and that was the thing where I was like, wait a second. If these guys are saying, I think it was like 2013 or something, and I was like, if these guys are saying that men can be women, like what else is a big lie? You know?
That unborn babies aren't people.
Well, I was
big one.
I was already Catholic, so
Okay,
like
yeah.
I was one of these, pro-life Democrats, which you used to be able
That
to
was
be.
I didn't even know that existed
That
then.
was a thing because you could be like pro-union, pro-life.
Oh, you're right.
That person.
It was rare at the time, but that did still exist.
That was a person in the 80s and 90s. Like
Yeah,
that person
was it the Blue
exists.
Dog
The
Democrats?
Blue Dog Democrats. You're
You
like
know what?
pro-union, you're pro-life, and you're a Democrat because
they were Christians.
The Democrats were the Democrats were like pro-working class, and then the Democrats totally abandoned the working class. But I think you're right also about the race thing because that was another piece where I was like, wait a second, you had BLM was starting, as well with like Eric Garner and all of that kind of stuff in Staten Island, and I remember very distinctly meeting a college friend of mine at a bar in Brooklyn, and she's black, and we met up for drinks, and she was telling me, and we hadn't seen each other in years, and I was like, oh, let's hang out. And we were just chatting, and she was saying to me, and we went to college in the 90s, and she was like, I want people to see my blackness first. And I was like, what? That's new. Why do you want people to see that you're black first? What do you think that should indicate to people about who you are? What stereotypes, perhaps, should they take away?
Yeah.
Because you are black and that has some universal categorizations that people should understand represent you.
Yeah.
You know? And she started telling me about it, and I was like, you realize this is totally different from what you thought like 15 years ago. This is totally like the opposite.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, it isn't. Oh, so we're in different realities entirely now. Okay,
That's
cool.
the biggest
cool.
thing is you have two sides that one's living in reality and then one's just living in complete fantasy at this point.
It was
It's like
totally crazy.
The race thing I feel like is getting less of a division between the left and the right. It's like you've got left wingers that are like anti-Indian posting that I've been seeing a lot of
actually
lately.
wild.
Like it's crazy how much of it is on X now.
Yeah.
But the trans thing is always at the peak. But have you guys seen
And also, there's a lot of black conservatives who've been very influential over the last few years and have moved the conversation.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
Have you guys seen the video? Not to bring it too far back, of the World War II veteran walking down the street and there's a big pride parade happening, and he's like, getting all fussed, and they're asking him what he likes about it, and he's like, "Where's my gun?" And he like wants to essentially kill these people because it's not what he actually went overseas and fought for. But that just shows you and indicates how far the culture actually has changed. I mean, in a very small time as well. And then these people say, they're anti-fascist when in reality they're using nothing but authoritarian techniques against people that are quite literally anti-fascist. I mean, Charlie Kirk did not believe in fascism.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
That was extraordinary, and the way they just continued to smear him after he died. And
They're still doing it.
I still can't find a video or a thing he said that bears up anything that's anyone's saying.
It doesn't exist.
I mean, just lie about him.
You don't have to agree with Charlie Kirk. He was a fairly moderate conservative.
Very moderate, yeah.
His views very much aligned with traditional Christianity.
Extremely moderate.
Fairly predictable views on a lot of these issues. He's the run-of-the-mill suburban Christian I knew growing up because he's literally a Christian from the suburb of Chicago, is where I grew up. I knew tons of people who held his views, and it's the middle-of-the-road position for the suburbs. And to them, he was a far-right fascist.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the thing, what he did was unforgivable to the left, which is that he allowed people to say their crazy opinions out loud. On trans, on various different things. I mean, I'm alone here in being pro-choice and kind of campaigned in Ireland for it because my wife and I went through something that meant it. It felt right to us. But sorry, what was I going to say? I've thrown myself.
Oh, you'll remember.
Sorry.
You'll remember.
Yeah, it'll come back to me in a sec. But like the only way that some of these ideas can survive is if they're not prodded at all. It falls apart on as soon as you see Leah Thomas towering over his competitors. Excuse me. As soon as you see that, it's like, well, it's over, surely. But for some reason,
Bill.
Huh?
We just call him Bill.
Bill, yeah.
William Thomas.
But they they got away with it for so long because they simply don't talk about it. They don't get into it. There's a famous document called the Denton's document, and it was written by a trans activist, I think in Sweden, who congratulated Irish trans activists for successfully pulling the wool over the eyes of the public. And as a result, Ireland has self-ID.
Which is crazy.
It's crazy, and no one discussed it.
That's
There was
totally
a guy
out of
just released
control.
from prison, lunatic. Have you seen this guy, Barbie Kardashian?
Barbie Kardashian.
And he's just
and he killed his mom.
No, he wants to kill his
He
mom.
wants to kill his mom.
He's
Of
like-
course, he wants to kill his
He
mom.
wants to kill his mother, he wants to kill his father, and he wants to kill the governor of the prison he's just left.
Right.
And
They let him out.
They let him out.
Yeah.
Not only did they let him out, he tore the scalp off a social
He's
worker.
got the like
Sounds
that,
like a great
that,
lad.
that
Yeah.
Canadian teacher. Remember the
But now he
Canadian
can walk
teacher?
into any
That's this Irish guy.
women-only
So
space in Ireland.
there's the wee spa thing that happened in California. But this is a really great example because apparently the story is there's some black woman going, hey, there's a man in the women's locker room exposing himself, and they're like, sorry, we can't do anything about trans people. And it turns out it was not a trans person. It was literally a guy exposing himself.
It was literally
who
a,
had
a wanted sex offender.
who had done it before.
Yeah.
And because of the presumption that because there are trans people, that means anytime someone complains about a man exposing himself to children, you're like, must be a trans woman.
Yeah.
What does it say about the societal assumptions about trans people?
And
Right.
yeah, and also
That's a
like
very good point.
when you're a young woman and some bloke is following you through a shopping centre or something, the only place you have to escape is the women's toilets. You pop in there, you wait, hopefully he gets bored and goes away. Now the guy can walk in right after him, and women are not entirely sure that if they make a fuss, they won't get arrested.
Well, the other thing too is there's this thing you were talking about, queering education, queering society, and trying to hide out in the bathroom or whatever. There's this whole push to separate children from their natural impulses, right? So when you have drag queen story hour and you have these progressive moms being like, go ahead, Henry, talk to Booby Delicious or whatever the person's name is, and you're like telling them that, and you're encouraging your child is revolted by the person because there's something wrong, right?
Yes.
With like the fake breasted, giant lipped,
yeah, it's grotesque.
wigged person in the weird heels. And so your child doesn't want to go with that person. You're telling your child, hey, your natural impulses of disgust, which are actually natural impulses that will protect you from predators and other things, ignore those and just go with the weirdo.
And why does the left love that so much?
And we used to tell our kids to avoid the weirdo.
Yes.
That used to be a very big thing.
There was a famous poster that was put up in I think Brighton in a college, and it was in the women's toilets, and it said, if you see anyone in here who doesn't look like they belong, don't make a fuss, don't make a scene, don't make them uncomfortable. And essentially telling women to ignore everything they can do, and they can't do much because of the physical differences, but the thing they can do, they've historically been able to do, is make a fucking scene, make a fuss, get people to say, hey, what's going on? And even that little weapon's been taken away from them, It's insane. I still feel sometimes, I joke, I have a therapist friend, and I joke to her that, did we die at some point? Is this hell? How is this possible that it's still going on?
It's a social influence through the internet. It's like 2007 is when I got a taste of cancer, when I got canceled from Hollywood. And what I kind of have distilled it down to is the left, if you go anti-feminine, not anti-woman, but if you're just angry with some feminine energy and you dog on feminine energy, the left will reject you and push you away. So like, not just women, like you can be cruel to women, and the left will reject you, but also the feminine energy within the man. And that's like, it's okay for a man to explore his emotions and things. If you're like down on that energy, you get pushed away from that.
That's right.
Nope, not all men must bottle up all their emotions and shove it way down until you develop a thick, benign tumor that can be removed.
And that's like the other extreme that you want to avoid as guys. And, how wonderful for, soldiers of the left to watch men die from their own stress on the right. So, but honestly, I think it's a top-down effect at exploding liberalism in general and blowing up our traditions and nationalism. They want to get rid of nationalism to create corporatocracy where the corporations are the governments.
Yep. And they want no borders for any country. They want international adjudication without any kind of, the way we approach the law is that it's supposed to be reasonable in civil and criminal cases. They want You know, I actually liken it to the. Have you guys seen Andor?
No.
The Star Wars thing.
Good. Yeah.
Basically, he's walking on the beach. Some guys run from troopers. A guy looks at him and says, "You're suspicious. Were you with him?" He's like, "I'm not." "Well, you're under arrest anyway." He goes before a judge, and they go, "Guilty." And he's like, "I'm just a tourist." And they're like, "Wow, sucks for you. Off to prison." That's basically the mechanized state of the international system that they're seeking to create, and the corporations will effectively be the governments. So I think when you look at the advocacy of like the World Economic Forum, the Davos Group, these international organizations and what they've done to the United States and to Ireland and to the rest of Europe, they are trying to make these countries borderless effectively so that there's no state anymore. I mean,
but what's the end game there? Why would they? That's what I kind of understand about a lot of this stuff. Like, who does it benefit? Who is you know what I mean?
There's a
world order. They want to create a new world order that's basically technocratic, where if you deviate from the order, your bank account gets penalized or you can't take the train.
There's been a bit of that already in England. Someone got debanked the other day, a Palestinian activist.
You see that here too.
Well, yeah.
The problem is you need to be able to deviate from. Sorry, James. I'll get this out. You have to be able to deviate from the order. This is what those technocratic totalitarian states have wrong. Is that sometimes you have to break the law to do what's good and right in the immediate. Maybe you got to jaywalk. Maybe you got to run the red light because there's an emergency. And if you get penalized every time you try and break the law, even if it's just, that's a big problem. So these systems are going to end up stepping on their own toes. But Seamus, what are you?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say sometimes I don't even think they understand the end game that they have in mind. So when I look at what they're trying to do to nation states, it's just a total inversion of subsidiarity. Like, the idea is you're supposed to tend first and foremost to the things most local to you, right? Like, as a father, you're supposed to look after your wife and children, then that extends out to your extended family, then your community, whatever individual responsibilities or familial responsibilities you have in your life. Then you can start to look at these other systems and see what you're able to do as your sphere of influence diminishes. What the left has always pushed for is the exact opposite. What's happening on the other side of the world? What can you do about it? How can you be an activist? And they get people to stop focusing on the things that are actually around them, and then it all falls apart.
Well, and
I don't know if it's directly intended. I think for most of them it isn't. It's just because they've allowed their emotions to run away. So they're not thinking logically. Because like it feels really good and you get all those warm fuzzies when you like think about helping someone in another part of the world. But like the people around you, as it turns out, they're like kind of a pain in the ass sometimes. And you don't always want to help them. But like that's where love really actually exists in an incarnate way where you're acting in the real world in the service of those around you. But that's difficult. So if I instead neglect my responsibilities, don't do the right things by the people I love, and make myself feel like a good person by purporting to care for people all the way across the world, now I can feel like a great person when I've completely failed to fulfill my moral duties.
That's one of the reasons you're seeing such a heavy attack on nationalism, especially right now. It's because liberalism has fallen apart utterly and completely, especially here in the United States. And people are seeing it, identifying it, especially the younger generations who they can't afford a house. They've been, been told to apologize for their whiteness their entire lives. They're essentially the issue with the country, and that they are fascist. And you're quite literally seeing it. I mean, straight up radicalize younger generations like Generation Z and myself. And now you're actually having people explore fascism and the realities of fascism and extreme nationalism because they think, hey, this didn't work. Liberalism didn't work. This is where it got us. And that's kind of the experiment that you're going through right now, at least in my generation, is, Antifa says they're anti-fascist, but they're quite literally, their tactics and the things that they've pushed on society is creating actual fascists that do truly believe in fascism.
And then you look back at the old fascists and the people who are looking at Antifa would say, well, as you say, maybe they look at it under a new light, because they're lying about their own nature. And so you apply the lie to other things in the past, Like if Antifa are going to go out and attack, people protesting against Drag Queen Story Hour and stuff like that, then they're going to just continue to have this reputation of weirdness and that's, whatever you think about anti-fascism, it's a good thing. It should be a good thing. It should be a kind of a standard, but it's being corrupted like everything else because words don't mean anything. And
that's right.
They also have the Rules for Radicals, which is Saul Alinsky's book about how to be a radical, revolutionary force, and it's your action is your opponent's reaction. So you're saying, Tayler, they are inadvertently the response to them trying to break down all the nations and the borders is that a harsh, it doesn't have to be harsh, but a fascist collective will form to preserve the nation. And that's exactly what they want, because then they can be like, look, we told you it was fascist all along. Join our communist movement.
That's exactly what's happening.
Well, and communists have understood since the 1950s that calling anyone who is capitalist or even just a non-communist a fascist was extremely rhetorically effective. But if you actually look at the definition of fascism, which I understand is nebulous in today's politics because that's just become a mean word we throw around in politics and not an actual system of thought, you read Giovanni Gentile and Benito Mussolini, and at the core of it is a belief that the state supersedes everything else in authority. That's the central claim of fascism, which to me sounds a whole lot more like what they believe than what I believe.
Yeah, and they've been perpetrating that for a while. I mean, you can even look back at the Obama administration when he was trying to put together Obamacare and push that onto everybody. And some of the advertisements for it would show a woman essentially in partnership with the government her entire life.
Well, and so you had Tim Kaine, and I can't remember what committee he was speaking on, but he was saying this belief that rights come from God, this is a dangerous idea.
He's saying it was oppressive and offensive. He said it was
exactly. And he says that's what they believe in Iran. Great guilt by association there, pal. But the thing about it is, his argument was, no, the state defines your rights.
That's right.
That's
fascist.
Fascism. That is the actual textbook definition of fascism. Any other worldview that doesn't have fascistic qualities to it says you have certain rights. That's an objective moral fact. The state can choose to honor those or they can violate your rights. Fascism is, no. Your rights are what the state says your rights are.
Well, and you see that too when people, like I was just recently seeing, you'll see these people like they go up to somebody in the street and ask them questions. And there was one recently, because I was like doom scrolling Instagram, and somebody was like, where do our rights come from? And the girl was like, the government. And he was like, no, they don't come from the government. They come from God. And it says that in our founding documents, and that's for real. And if you don't think that your rights come from God, then you don't think very much of yourself. You don't think that you have free will. You don't think that you can stand up. You don't think that you can think for yourself. If you don't believe that your creator endowed you with these things, then you only believe that you are a little slip of nothing meant to be controlled by a giant machine.
That was Thomas Jefferson. I think his greatest psyop that he pulled on humanity was making them believe that God gave them the rights. Because before that, everyone was like, no, your rights are given to you by your Lord, like whoever lords over you.
Well, they would just say you don't
even
have
that
any.
was like, but even a lot of that came from the divine right of kings, and even that came from like a belief that this authority ultimately comes from God. The word authority actually comes from the word author, like who created.
Yeah, who's telling the story of your life, basically? Who dictates your rules?
And like,
dude, Thomas Jefferson is so amazing. The guy was an artist and a scientist. He's like, I just got sucked into government because that was what the world needed at that moment. But he's like this 22-year-old writer that writes the most creative, prolific, forward-thinking, potential outlook of what the world could be, and just with threat of the French military behind it, they forced it on the world.
It wasn't just him. I mean, if you look at the guys who founded our country, like it was such a rabble-rousing group of young men who all managed to land in the same place at the same time and do something absolutely outrageously amazing.
Sad to see so many bright young men in the public sector like that.
You guys do know that there was a Declaration of Independence. That's not a joke. There were loyalists who drafted it wasn't literally called the Declaration of Independence. It was a pledge of loyalty to the crown. Right. That was derisively called the Declaration of Independence. There were, I think the argument is around a third of the colonies did not want to be independent from the crown.
Okay. So can I ask you, as
managed, I suppose,
as an Irishman, do you see the story of the United States being able to push British tyranny off and go, man, that sounds nice?
No, I grew up when all that stuff wasn't really an issue anymore. I was like living in Ireland. I was really loving English comedy and American comedy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's all the stuff I was interested in. I was more interested in bands and so on.
So what's the difference of British and American? Because we're both stuck in this liberal economic order. Is it? I don't want to distill it down to the king. Is it the king? Is it that there's a monarchy so that people are getting arrested for?
What do you mean?
Like, why are people in England getting arrested for social media speech? Or in Ireland or in Scotland?
Because they're weak people.
Or in Australia even.
Well, at the moment, I mean, I do think there's an interest.
I disagree. I love blood pudding.
Keir Starmer said when he came into power, he said, I will stop the culture wars, and he's done no such thing. He hides from them all. So all the arguments that people people have, the stuff that got me arrested at the airport, all this sort of stuff. It's all happening to ordinary people every day because he won't make decisions. He won't say, for instance, yeah, of course men shouldn't be in women's sports. He won't say these things. And so as a result, it's just left to the police to sort it out, the NHS, the ordinary people. Everyone's just having this big fight because there's no real agreement on what the new rules are.
Does the king get involved?
No, I haven't seen him make a comment. Although I have seen honors given to gender-critical people, so I think maybe that's...
I've got this feeling that the World Economic Forum is just trying to create a corporatocratic governance, global governance systems, that they're going to get the British royal family to become a corporation and just be like, okay, England's a corporation now.
I don't know. I mean, I don't look at it in that kind of top-down way. I'm more interested in what's happening to people. So going up.
Have there been any women who identify as trans knighted?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Do you think it will happen?
I like how you said it like an inevitability. You're like, but it's probably gonna happen.
No, I'll tell you what has happened though. Like, all male clubs, which used to be this big feminist bugbear of men meeting in private, without women being there, they changed their rules so they allowed women in, but it was trans women.
That was it.
Yeah. So like now they got this kind of fresh coat of paint. It's completely meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
They're still just allowing men in there. Mm-hmm. Can I ask, just as people are talking about this type of thing, has everyone read Eric Hoffer?
Negative.
No.
Everybody who's followed me on podcasts is going to be so bored of me bringing him up. But he wrote a book called The True Believer. He was like a longshoreman who taught himself how to think. He went into, I think, New York libraries and just kind of developed certain theories. And he wrote a book called The True Believer. And it's about how revolutionary movements, including Hitler, Christianity, communism, French Revolution, what they all have in common. And he looks at it from the point of view of the people on the ground. It could have been written yesterday. It could have been written yesterday about the Trump.
When's it from?
About the Trump.
I want to check that out. Yeah,
it's amazing. It's a really small pamphlet. It's written in short little bits, but there's all these things. You'll recognize them all. It's stuff like revolution will not come from poor people because poor people are trying to get their get dinner together. It comes usually from the middle classes, from the slightly better off.
Bourgeois, yeah.
Oh, sorry. It comes, it's people who are bored, it's people who are well off, it's people who hate the current reality and see some future reality as the thing they have to aim for.
What's this called?
The True Believer by Eric Hoffer. I think it's such a fantastic book.
All right, I'm going to look it up.
And it's got so many incredible details about Hitler's rise, even Jesus's rise. He makes this brilliant point at one point that if Jesus had been made a rabbi, then he might not have, started the revolution.
Although I wonder because, he did end up in the temple questioning all those.
Sure. But
rabbis and Pharisees, so
he's such a well-read guy that I'm sure it comes from something or other. But I believe there was a certain time where he could have been offered that, and it didn't happen. And he just says, "What if?" Same with I hate to put them in the same category, but same with Hitler. If Hitler had been given a position, with the old order, he may not have decided
got into art school.
Yeah, people bought his paintings.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't, because people will say like, well, if Hitler got into art school, it wouldn't have all happened. I'm like, I don't know anyone who got better from going to art school. So I don't know that.
No, I think it still would have happened.
He was fed up with the degeneracy, and then he's going to get accepted into art school. Have fun. I think he probably would have been Hitler times 2.
But it's not. It wasn't that he was talking about. It wasn't art school. He was talking about when. The Nazis first started making inroads, first started being taken seriously. He said if he'd been given a position,
interesting,
then things might have turned out different. But generally, the stuff is all about the boots on the ground. Like he was talking about Germany after the war. He said there's all these people, they've been completely humiliated in World War One, but they are actually a fairly resilient, resourceful people. They began to feel a huge sense of resentment because they knew they were more than what they were confined to, which was basically losers.
Yeah, and the Treaty of Versailles threw everything at them and made them the
Weimar didn't help very much.
Yeah,
the degeneracy you were seeing.
And I think a similar thing is happening at the moment with liberals and boomers and stuff, they just feel they should be boss. They feel they should be, sorry, I keep doing that. They feel they should be in charge. They feel that because Hollywood movies has always told them that they're the most wonderful people in the world, they're very liberal, they've always got a black friend,
I think this is true for any civilization, any society. When a large enough group of people who are really stupid, because when stupid people of a nation become a large enough political faction, your society will break down. It seems like simple logic. These are anti-meritocratic people. They believe that ideology is more important than meritocracy, which means their companies. I'm not surprised Disney had the worst flops ever. Marvel movies are failing. Marvel movies have been failing. They had their worst flops. I don't even remember the name of those stupid movies.
No, they were terrible.
No.
They were just really
Here's
bad
this
movies.
weird thing that's happened with aside from everything having like explicitly gay stuff in it, which again, this is part of why I'm doing what I'm doing here. But the films, what they've actually been doing is, it's the degeneracy, but there's also this element of like, they're trying to throw multi-million-dollar budgets, like $100 million budgets, at films that maybe make sense as like a $50,000 low-budget indie film that would be popular in select coffee shops or something. Like, I think the new Pixar film, it was like a kid who gets abducted by aliens, and it's sort of his journey exploring being gay, if I'm not mistaken.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, there was a lot
It's
of...
very niche. It's
think
like
they
an
cut it
insanely
out.
niche thing, which obviously my primary issue with that is like the grooming aspect. Don't go after kids. And I think they had to remove some of the gay elements from it, or did.
Did you see the meme where it's the train coming and it says the cool new game that just came out, and then it gets slammed, the bus gets slammed into by the train, and it says the interracial lesbian couple that appears halfway through?
Well, Concord. Remember that?
Was that all like interracial?
It launched for like a day, and then Concord. Sony, I think they spent like $100 million plus dollars on it.
I know it flopped, but it wasn't gay.
Yeah, no, everything was gay. All the characters were gay. It was just as gay as it can get.
And
I was
Dungeons
playing-
and Dragons.
It died because of it, and because the mechanics were just terrible.
I played one thing that a lot of people complained about is the new Horizon Zero Dawn game where they made the main character gay, and it's
Right.
just like, guys, we get it. Just stop. Just don't put any romance in it. Okay, we don't care.
Because the most important thing is they want kids to play it. They're trying to groom kids.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and that leads to other issues. That leads to nationalism that gets to a dangerous level of nationalism.
Makes
as
people
well.
very
It's just
angry.
like in Weimar, when you start pushing, and you can use way more examples in Weimar, but that's the one that comes to the top of my head. Women are having to prostitute themselves, right? They don't want to, but they're having to prostitute themselves. There's porn and degeneracy everywhere. These people have been put down because of the Treaty of Versailles.
There's Cabaret, there's Liza Minnelli, there's
Exactly.
So Gray.
It's everywhere you
thing.
look.
Bro,
though. It's
OnlyFans.
nasty.
Whenever
and we're there. That's the reality.
OnlyFans should be
also,
shut down.
even
I
whenever
agree with
there's
that.
any kind of revolution, right? Even a revolution against like a traditional or right-wing government or a monarchy, what the revolutionaries always do is they will point to some form of sexual degeneracy that's happening among the upper class because they know your average person doesn't tolerate that stuff.
And didn't Douglas Murray, or was it Douglas Murray, or no, Peterson? Jordan Peterson pointed out that societies that are going into decline, like Aztecs and so on, they go through just before they go into decline, they go through a stage like this.
Well,
They become
Rome
obsessed
did
with
too,
gender,
right?
sex,
or
and,
So
Rome,
we discussed Strauss generational theory, the fourth turning. Are you familiar?
No.
Every 80 years, civilization goes through a crisis, a catastrophe.
Right.
So 80 years ago, we had the World Wars. 80 years before that, we had the Civil War. 80 years before that, the American Revolution. And 80 years before that, there was a conflict. I don't track before that because Americans think the world doesn't exist before 1776.
Yeah.
I'm kidding, but
Because it doesn't really.
it doesn't.
nothing happened.
But this is where the culture becomes shared with Britain, and there was a crisis. I forgot what it was, and the argument is that strong men make good times make weak men. So you have a generation that goes through hardship, and they're hardened and hardworking. The weak are culled through conflict, and the strong survive. They have kids who don't know this conflict, and so they enjoy prosperity, good times. They're fairly weak. They have weaker kids. By the fourth generation, you have a society that's largely grown fat, lazy, and incompetent, and then this leads to a crisis where the weak will die off, the strong will survive, you'll get very hard times. The prediction is 2028 is supposed to be the peak period for the fourth turning, which
It's coming.
it's arguably between 26 and 28.
Yeah, but also people I don't think I've been arguing for this for years, but you guys are much younger than me, so you've grown up during the internet age. You sometimes don't even know what it was like before it, whereas I was like half my life was with the internet, half was not. And like I think that people, the big historical precedent that we all have to think about is the printing press.
Oh yeah,
Because the printing press
total
came along,
mistake.
and then there was
Have you seen some of the books that they? Sorry.
but after the printing press, I believe there was 100 years of pure chaos because everybody who had a Bible and a theory, like on the 7th page, if you read the 7th line, was able to turn that into a religion. So there were pogroms, there were massacres, there were all sorts of that. I went on for 100 years. We've just had the internet, which is like the printing press
Certainly is.
Times
yeah.
a billion, yeah.
times a billion. What's it going to do? It's already doing something. This trans came from nowhere. How many?
Trans is an internet.
Well, I
How many
think this
civil
is,
rights
ways,
movements?
like starting
but
with Tumblr. and
trans
all
is
that
part of the transhumanist
Yeah.
phenomenon. And so I think the big tech people pursued and defended this because they want one of the arguments
They accelerated it.
one of the arguments in like the 2000s 2010s was that the way we stopped the Terminator scenario was by integrating ourselves with the machine.
Right.
So these powerful big tech guys were like, we're going to plug the machine into our brains. So when the trans argument came up about how there is an identity within you, they said, let's roll with it.
Right.
It
Yeah.
was- yeah, that's,
Well, in-
that was like my downfall, was writing about transhumanism for Quillette.
I also just think that transgenderism is kind of this almost like biblical poetic punishment for the sexual revolution because people stopped using sex for its proper end and then they also got very confused about what sex they were and started mutilating their bodies. It just goes to show you when you stop living in accordance with God's plan, everything falls apart. Like these aren't just rules, they're invitations to happiness. And you go back to Alfred Kinsey. I've talked about this on the show before. He wrote this work, Sexual Behavior in the Human Male, and this was in the 1940s in the US. And this is what many leftist scholars have said laid the groundwork scientifically for the sexual revolution and in order to justify it, because his work supposedly found that everyone in society was secretly engaged in all sorts of perverse and degenerate behaviors and they just weren't talking about it. This is his famous contribution. Well, as it turns out, he was oversampling prisoners, people who were in jail for sex offenses, prostitutes. Also back in the 1940s, what kind of person is going to answer a survey asking them about their sex lives? Probably people who are a bit more off the beaten path, to use a nice euphemism there. And then the most incriminating and dire thing is, I won't be explicit about this because it's too horrible to even say out loud, but he had an entire table in his book that could only have been described and obtained through the repeated sexual abuse of many, many, many young boys. So essentially what happened was a bunch of little boys were abused and the Kinsey Foundation denies that he abused them. It simply says he interviewed a person who was abusing them. I believe that's their current line, and collected a bunch of data on little boys that you would only have if you were abusing them and published it in this book. And we celebrate him to this day in our institutions. The Kinsey Institute still exists and they made a movie about him where Liam Neeson played him. And my point is like, this
My is the friend's guy family who named their
laid out the
dog
framework
after
for the
Kinsey,
sexual
yeah.
landscape that we live in.
Remember that money guy?
Institute.
John Money.
That's right.
John Money as well. John Money was also,
horrific.
he mutilated children.
The Kinsey narrative, one more thing, the whole thing with Kinsey, actually his research was picked up from people that fled World War II Germany and essentially used that said research to create and help push forward the Kinsey Institute and all that research that he did.
We've got a couple minutes before we go to the Super Chat and Rumble Rant portion of the show, but I want to play this clip from my earlier debate with the CEO of the of Liquid Death. And let me just start by prefacing with, I won $1 million. He's the one who threw that number out there. Let me play the clip for you, and then we'll discuss what happened earlier and what I would like to see happen. One other question I have, it says on this can, we donate a portion of the profits from every can sold to help kill plastic pollution. I checked your site. Do you want to explain? I don't know if you're allowed to tell us what portion of the profits actually goes towards fighting plastic pollution.
Well, in the early days of Liquid Death, we had a specific number. We had, it was like 5 cents a can was what we donated in the very early days. As the business, well, actually, it was, the original thing was 5% of the profits we were donating.
Your site in 2021 says 10%.
No, not 10%.
The website Liquid Death Archived 2021 says 10% of all sales per can goes to fighting plastic pollution.
That was never on our site. It's
how much you want to bet?
10%.
You want
it
to bet?
doesn't say 10%.
How much you want to bet?
Not.
Gentleman's bet, because I have the archive pulled up.
$1 million.
Are you sure?
I'm ready. I know we never put that on there.
Everyone watching right now can see archive.org. 10% of the profits from every can is donated to help kill plastic pollution. I don't know if you're able to see. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I can't put it on my screen. If you everybody watching can see that it says 10%. Buddy, you owe me $1 million. Hey, you said it.
Tell me where to make the check out.
I don't know, to a plastic fighting charity.
Yeah.
I'm not mad that you're saying 10%. By the way. I don't think it's good.
I could show you detailed legal stuff within there. That is someone who needs to be fired that was running our website, because it's never been on a can. It's never been anywhere else. Like that is.
I'm just going to go ahead and say, I don't believe him. Here's the actual archive from Liquid Death's page. You can see the URL right up here. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to open it and paste it in. And here you can see it links straight to their website, where they did, I will give them this, add that their cans do contain a plastic liner inside of them. This is their website. It literally says 10% of the profits from every can is donated to help kill plastic pollution. I think he's lying. Look, I respect the guy for having this conversation and exposing himself in this way. But I think he's lying. I think they intended to do that. I think as the company expanded, they realized 10% is too much to give away. That's my opinion of it. He's saying, no, I can show you all these. Well, I say this. Liquid Death, hear me. You already work with Five Gyres. On their website at the bottom, it says they work with Five Gyres Science to Solutions. It's a nonprofit. They brought in their last $990 that's available for, I think, 2024, $1.2 million total. Certainly seems like, in my opinion, that Liquid Death actually doesn't give them that much money, but okay, fine, whatever. I mean, I don't know how much money they're actually generating in profit because he doesn't disclose that. So I say this, write a check for $1 million, Liquid Death, to Five Gyres, settle the bet. You said it over and over again, Mike, $1 million. You've never put that on your website. You did. You lost the bet. I think it'd be very cool. I think it's a great opportunity for you guys to publicly make a statement that you lost the bet, but you're putting your money where your mouth is to fight plastic pollution with $1 million check. Hey, guys, you can write it off. And I'm going to say this. The beef that I had in this debate was that Liquid Death says death to plastic on it, but every can has... Now, when I search this, it's 0.5 to 1 gram of plastic lining the can, which there are concerns it's leaching into your drink. That's my concern. It's just non-recyclable plastic. Not to mention, he says the cans are infinitely recyclable, but the can literally says on it, it contains 70%, average aluminum can contains 70% recycled material. So that's not infinitely recyclable, that's 70% recyclable. I think Liquid Death plays this game of we're anti-plastic while actually just adding to single-use plastic consumption. He says they got rid of the death dust packets. These were drink mixes they had lined in plastic. He said they got rid of them. But they produce soft drink cans that can for with any other company produces the same amount of plastic. He then says when we recycle it, we burn it off. Yes. Plastic in the can is burned off in the recycling process, which converts it to carbon dioxide, water vapor, and small amounts of plastic particulates, which are absorbed into a filter. That filter has to be then disposed of in a similar way. It's still creating pollution. Granted, I'll give it to them, they're much better than PET plastic bottles. However, if they really wanted to play the game of fighting plastic, they could be like Topo Chico or Mineragua, who do not actually claim death to plastic, but the caps, single-use metal pop caps, contain 0.05 grams of plastic in the liner to keep it sealed. Substantially less plastic than Liquid Death. I think they're dishonest. I think that they're doing an environmental play because it works among lefties. That's why they do the witches cursing the drink. They're targeting the left and these libs. And they're claiming death to plastic, while in fact they're just producing more plastic. There's no evidence to suggest that Liquid Death has displaced any amount of plastic bottles in the market. And if they really wanted to, like I said, Topo Chico is cheaper at Walmart than Liquid Death. Tell me how that is. I honestly have no idea. But he put this big thing on Twitter saying if I wanted to sell pool water, which we are actually working on right now, and I have some updates for you for all those that are curious about our castbrew.com pool water. So it looks like we probably are going to increase the price from $20 up for a few reasons. We want to put them in cardboard boxes, and we want to use paper stickers, and those are more expensive. The initial cost that we were looking at to get 8 cents profit per bottle would have been shrink wrapped in plastic. And we thought about it. We were like, I'm not playing this anti-plastic game like there, so I didn't care. But then we went to the price. We were like, we could do cardboard boxes, make it look a lot cooler. That means it's going to be closer to like $30 a pack. which is just a reality. I will give him that when he said, Mike argued on X, we have to sell these 24 packs for $83, which is just another insane lie. And there are people tweeting at me being like, take advice from the CEO of a drink company, Tim. I went to Walmart and Topo Chico is $12 for a 12 pack. It's $1 a bottle. What are you talking about? I can buy glass bottles with no plastic in the cap for $1 a piece.
I think the Topo Chicos, they have rubber. They have like plastic underneath the pop caps, and it's about the It's not about the amount of plastic touching the liquid. It's about the scratches that the plastic takes.
No, the issue is
before production.
They're producing plastic pollution that they burn and say it's better than plastic bottles.
Well, if there's the argument of who's making more plastic waste, then there's the argument of who's getting more microplastic into their stomach when they drink the liquid.
And there's one French study suggesting that twist caps can put more microplastics in your drinking water. Pop caps, we don't have a study on. And I'd argue at 0.05 grams of plastic, the likelihood you're getting more microplastics in your glass bottled water compared to a literal plastic-lined can with plastic every dimension is laughably absurd.
The upside of those is they don't get the sunlight, because sunlight will leach your plastic into your liquid. So you want to be careful, but the metal can will block the radiation from the sun or something.
I get it. Plastic water bottles suck. It is 0.8 cents per fluid ounce for a plastic water bottle when you buy that trash. It's insanely cheap.
Where's the water coming from?
A variety of sources. So spring water imported from like the Swiss Alps or Iceland is going to be very expensive. It's going to be, I think, upwards of like 20 cents per ounce, even as high as 50 cents, depending on the source of water. If you're doing American-sourced artesian water or reverse osmosis, like Dasani, for instance, Dasani is municipal tap water. Not a joke. And they make a ton of money. So I'll give it to him. Plastic water bottles are bad. The issue is that Liquid Death is not a water company. Even Mike said it's 15% of their business at this point. They are a soft drink company, no different from Coke or any other drink producer in a can. And can for can, they produce the exact same amount of plastic. He said he committed to changing the cans because it says death to plastic on every can. He's going to put death to plastic bottles.
Okay.
Sure, fine.
It's a real misleading marketing ploy for Liquid Death to talk bad about plastic and have your
Let me tell you this. The hammer drop from the interview that I did. I feel a little bad about this because Liquid Death is growing. They're getting big. And I'm not trying to rag on these guys who are trying to push back against the monopolies of Coke and Pepsi. I feel kind of bad about it. Coke and Pepsi own everything and they lock people out.
They have plastic in their cans too.
Absolutely. Every can does. Now, here's the issue with Liquid Death. Homie straight up admitted to an FTC violation on a live stream on my channel with 1.5 million people. And I started laughing and I said, bro, did you talk to your lawyer before planning this? Because that's a pretty wild thing. Here's what happened. He said death to plastic is just a slogan. It's not a claim. There are a bunch of companies that have slogans. And then he said, like Red Bull gives you wings. I then laughed and said, it's funny you bring that up because, as you know, the FTC, I believe it was the FTC, fined Red Bull for the claim Red Bull gives you wings. I think it was like $13 or $14 million. To which he incorrectly responded, yeah, but that's ridiculous. Who actually believed that Red Bull was going to make you grow wings, which was never why they got fined. They were fined under the FTC because the argument was Red Bull gives you wings implies that Red Bull will enhance your physical or mental performance more than a caffeinated soda, which it will not because Red Bull is effectively just the same as any other caffeinated soda. So many people think Red Bull's an energy drink. It's just caffeinated soda. Coca-Cola has caffeine in it as well. Red Bull, I believe, has more. But if you look at like Monster and other energy drinks that have, ginseng, guarana, B vitamins and other things, those are energy drinks. He then said several times that he surveyed his customers and found the overwhelming majority were not buying them because it was plastic free. They were doing it, I think he said it was because it was an alternative to plastic bottles. He then admitted some of our customers we found were buying this because they thought it was free from plastic, but it was a minority, to which is shocking to me because he outright said, the slogan we use, death to plastic, misled a portion of our customer base into buying our product. We've known this for years and we've never changed it. That's what he said publicly and live. I addressed this. I additionally said the controversy surrounding plastic bags inside of this, because you can look it up, has been around for years and they never changed their marketing. They knew that it misled a certain portion of their customer base. They knew there was a controversy surrounding this. They didn't change it until I, with millions of followers, called them out, and there was a backlash on social media.
Oh, is that how you got the interview? Is that why you got the interview? I was wondering how the interview came about.
So the other thing, the reason this came out is because a long time ago I bought Liquid Death. I didn't know aluminum cans had plastic in them. I thought it was just straight up metal. And I bought it because we wanted to have here for our guests a plastic alternative to our drinking water. We have plastic water bottles. I don't care. And we also had Saratoga Springs at the time. We now have reusable glass water bottles that are downstairs, and they have silicone seals on them. When I found out they said plastic, my brother told me I spent thousands of dollars. I was kind of peeved because I'm like, it says death to plastic on it. I didn't know. My brother actually used caustic soda to melt the metal off, and you can see the bag dangling. And you can look this up on YouTube. Everybody does it. So I got pissed. And the thing is, Richie Jackson, who is a friend of ours and is sponsored by the Boonies, rode for them. He was sponsored by them. And so I said, one thing, there's a conflict of interest between us because of our mutual colleague. I'm not going to say anything. I did, however, call out the general concept without naming Liquid Death, which I didn't want to cause problems for, we have a mutual colleague. So I decided, however, he recently, Liquid Death fired all of their skateboarders, who, by the way, were getting paid like $500 a month, not even that much money, and had been with them since the beginning, since the inception of this company. He fired them all. And Richie put out a video saying, I'm no longer associated with Liquid Death. They lost a customer. And so I said, hey, I don't got to be polite to these people anymore. Made a post about it, said it's misleading, it's deceptive marketing practices. I think I respect him for coming on because, and I do mean this, very few big company CEOs would dare address the public like this. He was decently honest in a lot of regards where he said, we've updated our website, we're going to update the marketing. But I think he's just now caught. They're not a water company anymore. They do soft drinks. They do sodas. I respect the drink. It's a low sugar drink. That's what I'm all about. But the marketing was a trick. And so the final thing I'll say on this before we go to your Rumble rants, the last bit of the conversation we had was around the termination of his skateboard team. And he said they spend around $40,000 per year sponsoring a handful of skateboarders who get a couple $100 a month. So I would argue logically he is correct. As a business, you can't just sponsor people without seeing a return. Businesses don't just give money away. Fair point. Spiritually, he's wrong. What I want to add to this that I didn't say at the time, but I'll say now, this is a company valued at $1.4 billion, brought in a ton of investment. He says they're not yet profitable, and that means they're putting the money back into expansion of the business. So they could be profitable if they want to grow and they want to distribute more. That's my assumption. $330 million in sales. They don't get all of that because that's retail sales. So based on what he said they have 40% margins. Retail's about $1 per can. And he said that retailers want 50% margins. Distributors want around a 30% margin. So we can actually do simple math in that regard. And then he says we have a 40% margin. So this means the retailers are getting this for about 50 cents a can because they want a 50% margin, which means by the time the distributor is giving it out, they're selling it to Walmart for 50 cents. So if they want 30% of 50, that's 15 cents. Which means he's likely selling them for 35 cents to the distributors, which means if he has a 40% margin, it's around 20 or so cents that he's his cost per can. So we can do all of that math. Then you can take a look at, I think he said it's 175 million cans. You can do the math on how much money they're making every year as a company. So it's in the tens of millions of dollars. Spiritually, you have a handful of pro skateboarders. It is the lowest point in skateboarding ever. Skateboarders are struggling to get by. They're working at Amazon, and it's $500 a month. And these guys were with the company since the company started. And he said, well, companies don't have an obligation to just pay these people forever, so you're all fired. And I'll give him this, logically fine, by all means. But there's something just genuinely spiritually awful about saying the skate industry could not be in a worse position. All pro skateboarders are hurting. We're going to throw another log on this fire that is the skateboard industry and pull a couple $100 from you per month. But what I'm going to add to this is that what he said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he effectively said I'm paraphrasing. He said the skateboarders all basically said nice things. Richie was the only one who said something disparaging on the way out. And he said something like, I understand this hurt him pretty bad because because he lost a couple $100 per month when he doesn't have that many sponsors left as it is, or something like this. And when he said that, it was really funny to me because I was like, wow, like He literally spat in Richie's face. To Richie, pro skateboarder, he has the video. He has a skate video with more views than any other skate video in history.
Richie's the man.
Well, to be fair, Nigel Houston may have just surpassed him, but it's comparable. So he has rivaling for like 10 years the most viewed skate video in history. And he said, I know it was particularly hard for him to lose a couple $100 a month because he doesn't have that many sponsors.
Is that
left.
what he said?
Yes.
Wow.
And I'm
Just
like,
classless.
Yeah.
absolutely classless, because I can tell you this, Richie Jackson is not hurting for the $500 in any way. I'm not pretending like Richie's a wealthy man, but he is certainly a stable, he's of stable income, and he's doing fine. So to imply that taking the $500 away from him is what pissed him off, it was just insult to injury. The reality is, Richie was upset because he was with Liquid Death from the start. Every time we do videos, Richie always tries to make sure Liquid Death is seen on camera in some way because they sponsor him, and that's his job. And I respect it because they only gave him a couple $100 a month. But Richie loved the brand. He made a Simpsons video on his Instagram, like where he did the voices about buying Liquid Death. It was the Cracker Factory joke, and then he just revoiced it. Do single people drink Liquid Death? We don't know. Quite frankly, we don't want to know. And then what happens is, abruptly, without warning, a new guy at the company he's never heard of sends him a message saying, you're off the team, the team's disbanded. And so Richie felt like he was betrayed by a company he'd been with from the beginning for $500. That's it. So this company was spending like $3,700 a month to keep the OGs receiving some cash to sponsor the brand. And homie didn't care.
Yeah.
So I think it's nasty. I can respect Liquid Death is better than plastic bottles, but let's just point this out. There are many companies that only sell in cans. They don't sell plastic bottles. They don't claim they're trying to destroy plastic bottles either, and don't market it like they're some environmentally sound company. They just say it's a drink in a can. Liquid Death is literally no different from Celsius or Mountain Dew or whatever. Granted, to be fair, I find Mountain Dew is going to be in a plastic bottle as well. They are producing cans lined in plastic while pretending they're anti-plastic. I think it's despicable.
Well, listen, I mean, it pisses me off because, and I've always had issues with the brand. My understanding is there's rumors that they were saying they were having it cursed or something like that. I think you mentioned that earlier.
They have a commercial, I guess, where they curse the water.
That's horrifying. I very much dislike that. I think that's horrible. And with the comment about Richie, I mean, if this guy truly believed that Richie had nothing left and needed this money, the idea that you would kick him while he was down by making a shitty comment like that it's just totally classless. Totally classless.
Let me stress. One of the complaints that people have about Richie is that for what he does as a pro skateboarder, I shouldn't say complaints. It's just that he's living all right. Like, He's with all due respect to Richie, he is an aging professional skateboarder who is living he's got a middle class life, and a lot of these pro skateboarders don't. Some of these guys are working at Home Depot, they're doing Uber deliveries, and Richie doesn't have to do that because he's had success in his career. So if it were correct that Richie was destitute and desperately needed $500 a month from Liquid Death, how crappy would it be to spit on him in a live show saying that?
Yeah,
Right,
I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all.
Yeah.
Well, my personal issues, I've always despised this brand. It says death on the can. They talk shit about plastic on the plastic product that they're selling. And then the CEO in your interview, hardcore says, I guarantee it did not say 10%. I know it a million. I will give you $1 million. Like, what kind of dope talks like that? That absolute guarantee it when and then it turns out not to be true. Good for him that he's worth $1.4 billion, but it's a garbage product.
No, I disagree. I think Liquid Death is a great drink.
Garbage. It lies about plastic, dude. It
fair
doesn't
point.
lie. It doesn't lie.
I don't like that there's
indicates-
death
sorry
on
to
it
Tim,
either.
sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah, I don't like that.
I think it's fair to say that a reasonable person would conclude that death to plastic means they don't have plastic in their products. And I will stress this again. He tried arguing to me that glass bottles have more plastic because there's 2 grams in the twist-off cap. And then when I fact-checked it for Pop Tops on like a Topo Chico, it's 0.05.
What was that you were saying about the bag? There's a bag in it? What do you mean?
Yeah. Let me show you.
Lining.
I didn't know about this either. I had no idea that's how these things were made.
No, but and this is fascinating. Here is Graham telling me. It's funny when people are like, everybody knows there's plastic in cans. No, they don't.
No, I had no idea.
Take a look at that. So if you take a can of liquid death, or any can for that matter, and you submerge it partially in caustic soda lye mixture, it will eat them. Don't do this at home, seriously, guys. If you, it's very dangerous. Don't do it. So in lab conditions where they do this, you can melt the plastic. Melt the metal away, exposing only the plastic. So the caustic soda will bond with the metal, releasing hydrogen gas. And I think it's like hydrogen oxide or something like that. And then the plastic is left untouched, and you can literally pick up the can and shake the plastic bag full of liquid.
Right.
This is a great opportunity for this company to go hard on like plastic remediation, though, because there's fungus that will biodegrade. It'll eat plastic and turn it into sugar. There's bacteria that will eat plastic. You can electrocute the stuff and turn it into graphene.
He said he was committed to changing the hashtag to death to plastic bottles. And I said, fair. I don't know how you rectify the entire history of the company misleading people in this way. Yeah, that's a question for him in the FTC,
It's still
and he
got
admitted it.
a plastic bottle in the can.
It is substantially.
Also,
it's about 10% of the plastic of a PET bottle.
Slogan.
What's that?
The slogan doesn't work in the same way. Death to plastic bottles is a little bit on the nose. Death to plastic is an actual slogan.
But you can't do it because it's misleading. And he admitted. I'm going to say we're going to go to rants right now, but I want to stress he admitted on a public stream. So. You know, I'm a bit torn on this one, but I'll say it. There are many people out there that have been tweeting angry, saying they didn't know this. He admitted on the show they were aware that a portion of their customer base thought the slogan meant plastic free, and they did not change it. That is an outright FTC violation. Red Bull got fined for less. Red Bull got fined because they implied that the drink enhanced your performance, and the argument was caffeinated sodas are no more. Red Bull's no more than any other caffeinated soda.
I think it's really cool that he came on the show, talked to you, and that it's an alternate company to big megacorps like Coke and Pepsi. So, if the options are we're going to use the government to sue this dude's company and break it, or watch the company transform into something that's actually remediating plastic, I'll take the second choice.
Well, I don't like the idea that Liquid Death would become a successful billion-dollar company off the back of a lie like this. And I also think, again, like I said, I didn't want to say it, but I'll say it. I think any there's probably a bunch of law firms that watch this show that are outright being like, I'm going to make the fastest $10 million I've ever made. They're going to settle with the FTC in 2 seconds. And the law firm's going to get, it's going to, I imagine there could be a class action deceptive practices suit, potential FTC fine, and they're going to have to pay out a lot of money. And the law firm that does this is going to make a cool, $10 million like that. The individual who bought the product will see a check in the mail in 2 years for 75 cents. But
it's so
we gotta go to Rumble Rants. Smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. No uncensored show tonight, but we'll read what you guys have to say. Jacob Hawley says, breaking. I'm in Port Washington, Wisconsin. No Kings protesters have surrounded City Hall and loud bangs have been heard. Sounds like shots or fireworks, police sirens going off, and people are running. Whoa, really? I thought it was going to be tomorrow.
Sounds like Salt Lake. Last No Kings protest.
Oof, man. Yeah, where that dude got shot.
Yeah, well, and they didn't even charge
him. He killed him, right?
Yeah, he killed him. He killed a random bystander.
And they never charged him?
They arrested the wrong guy.
They arrested the wrong guy, charged the wrong guy, and then the guy that actually murdered somebody, he's just still walking the street.
And here I am defending Antifa.
Yep.
There was an Antifa guy open carrying as he's legally allowed to do. And these two No Kings organizer, they're No King security guys involved with the organization,
501,
just pulled their guns out and started shooting at him.
Yeah, 50501.
Yeah, 50. What? There you go. 505.
Security for them.
Opened fire on this guy who was open carrying legally, and shot some dude. I believe he killed him. Right?
He's down the street. Yeah, missed the rounds. He
Yep.
tried to actually kill the guy that was open carrying, who had actually had a long history of attending those protests and open carrying. He wasn't raising his gun. Like the guy that actually fired the shot said that he was a threat because he saw him raise it towards the crowd. New video that came out. He didn't.
The cops arrested the innocent guy who was attacked. Mm-hmm. And actually, I think someone mentioned that his family had thanked us on the show for talking about it and saying he was innocent. Look, the guy carrying the gun, he's a lefty Antifa guy. But you got a right to open carry. You know what I mean? I think it's bad.
His parents are conservative.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, his parents are very conservative.
Well, I hope
immigrants, I believe, actually.
I hope they can help this kid, better understand.
Not be in prison. Yeah,
no, I think he got released. I think he got looked up.
Yeah, I think he ended up getting released. But just the idea that this guy that actually murdered an innocent man is still walking the streets with no repercussions, no charges.
That's crazy.
All right. Vic Zam says we should send Seamus a giant spoon as a prop for him to have on the show.
I don't get it.
Look up Beyond the Veil trailer by Mythic Talent. Case O's fork as an example and a potato skin shield.
You know me. You know
I think Seamus should offer white labeled cutlery. Bro, I'm not joking. If you did like
we've talked about that. I want to maybe we plot some of this
Like
behind
an
or your
ass on the
fundraiser
handle.
for Twisted Plots.
let's talk about some of this behind the scenes.
Oh, it's gonna look
Let's talk about some of this behind the scenes.
Bro, like an engraved spoon set that you could buy, and the proceeds go towards funding Twisted Plots.
Your head kind of looks like a
see
fork, like your hair sticking up like the fork things. That's awesome, dude.
Well, he's not stealing
out to
forks. He's a
I don't steal spoons either, Tim. You know me. You know I would never do that.
I want to stress to everyone, Seamus made this whole thing up himself.
No, Tim did. He accused me, smeared me on air. You know me. You know I would never do that.
So if you took one of Tim's spoons and then he was like, and you're like, I stole your spoon, he's like, actually, you can just have it, so you're not stealing.
No.
You're like, no, I refuse.
No,
that,
I'll tell you the story.
Your offer.
We have at one of our houses, we have an apartment in the basement that Seamus had been staying in, and Allison was doing the dishes, and she goes, "There's a few spoons missing." I was like, "Oh, I don't know," and then she's like, "Oh, maybe Seamus was using them downstairs." Seamus comes upstairs, and my wife is like, "Oh, Seamus, did you have any spoons downstairs?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, I got a couple here," and he's like, "I'll go grab them." It's not even a big deal at all. And then Seamus abruptly goes, "There's an Irishman under my house stealing my spoons." And then I ran with it.
No, I don't. You know me. You know I would never do that. That never happened. That never happened.
The real story is just very mundane and boring.
There's this thing I like to joke about. I know, like, they say people in Ireland don't like when people in America call themselves Irish, but I just want you all to know, like, we're not bragging. It's an admission. It really is like, I gotta come clean.
Yeah.
Freedom spoons. Dude, it writes itself. The chat saying freedom spoons.
Let's talk about it. Yeah, let's talk about it after the show.
All right, let's grab some more of this. We got Z Irish says, finally got to listen live. Usually listen at work the next day. Full day of Pool Corp shows. Just want to say thank you for everything and God bless you all. Thank you so much for the super chat. We really appreciate it. I forgot to give you the updates on the pool water. So locally, for people on the East Coast and the DC area, you should be able to find these once we start sending them out for the allotted price. It's going to be like probably $1.50 to $2 per bottle, because we want to put them in cardboard boxes with paper stickers. So we do want to reduce the plastic. So it will be.
Are these going to be like in bodegas and stuff?
Yeah. So we're talking with distributors about having them in, like, you'll go to a local pizza
7-Eleven or whatever.
Yeah, or you'll go to a pizza place and they'll have like pool water. We are looking at doing cans as well, because I got no problem. They have a can with plastic lined in it. It's a choice you can make. Do you want the glass? Do you want the plastic? And we're going to look for single-use pop cap plastic as well. So if you want to order these from the site and you're in the West Coast, it's going to be expensive, right? That's a fact. These are going to be like 30 to 35 pounds. And so or I think it's for like a case, and then you got to pay the shipping on that stuff. So hopefully we can get it regionally produced when we do expand. But I will stress, for a gag product we launched locally, the producer is seriously like within 10 minutes driving of us. It's something we can easily pick up in our F-150 van. We can carry, I think, something like I don't know what, like 1,000 bottles. No, I think like 1,500 bottles is the total weight capacity. So our delivery cost is going to be really, really, really low. So that means all the local business would be really easy. We have a handful of stores in mind that we think will carry them. You could order them direct from the site once they're up, which should be very soon. Because we wanted to change it from shrink wrap plastic cases, kind of defeats the purpose. We're gonna wait to get the cardboard boxes made. But it was already going to be a 4-week stock period where they have to make everything, so it'll be coming soon. All right.
By the way, I just want, like, it's been very impressive and very surreal to see Tim build this brand in like 2.5 days. I woke up the other day and there was no understanding that this is going to happen. And then, like, halfway through the day, he comes up with this idea, and then he's on the phone with people. And
it wasn't me.
A label made.
I didn't come up with it.
Who came up with it initially?
It was my brother or Mark said something about you should just sell your own water. And then Andy goes, pool water. And we all laughed. And my brother said, that's disgusting. No one will buy that. But we all thought it was hilarious.
Gotta say chlorine free on the bottle.
Then we're going to do green tea pond water. We're going to do carbonated spa water. And Someone suggested seawater, but I'm like, what is like a salt drink? Like,
So you said Andy came up with the name. I'm surprised it wasn't Chris. I feel like whenever Chris names something, he tries to find like the funniest name he can while still having some plausible deniability that that's what he's actually saying.
Yeah.
That's a very Chris thing to do.
I like the way you're leaning into the name by having it by a pool.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that was Jessica who did
Collected.
because this is the actual bottle from our distributor.
Yeah.
And but it wasn't always by a pool. It was on a white background.
Right.
And so
Don't drink out of
Jessica
glass
was
bottles.
like, I was like, the white background makes it look fake, like it's not real. And she was like, oh, I got this. And then she put it at a pool. So we actually talked about today, and we were like, why don't we do cans too? I mean,
then they can actually drink them by the pool.
But for that matter, we could also do plastic. I don't think we'll do plastic bottles. I think we'll just do cans and glass bottles. And I got to be honest, like Liquid Death ain't wrong. The glass bottle top is going to have more plastic in it than the cans will.
That's the problem. It scrapes off, and in transit, before they get screwed onto the top, there are all these caps in a bag scraping against each other, cutting. But you can do like bamboo and silicone, and you can also do stainless steel caps.
We're looking for silicone or cork.
I
want to read this. Mark
cork would be
Giadetti
awesome.
says, "Shut up about water bottles. No one cares." You are wrong, bro, dude. We have never had no. It's not a joke. The reason why I'm talking about it so much, we have never had this reaction for one of our products we launched through Casbrew. We've got like the website traffic exploded yesterday, and we've been inundated with emails asking how to get pool water bottles. And we've had distributors reaching out to us saying, we want to put this in our warehouse. We serve these states in this region. And we're like, holy crap. Yeah. Like the amount of people reaching out to us about wanting to buy pool water is crazy. And so we were like, okay, let's figure it out. We'll make pool water. So yeah, a lot of people. Martin Edgar says Red Bull settled a lawsuit for $13 million in 2014. I remember. John Tamsela says, Tim, pool water is a funny idea. I love it. Have you guys heard about the PA systems getting hacked in North American airports? 4, I believe. 1 in Harrisburg. Did you guys hear about that?
Yeah. So these airports got hacked, and over the PA system, people started yelling pro-Palestinian messages.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that's creepy.
There was like, I think
That's what you want to hear just before you get on.
right.
I was gonna say like I'm all for free speech, but the airport's not the place. Where
Yeah, I think there
hear
was
that.
like one was in Canada. There were a couple.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that about does it for tonight. So smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. I do have some segments coming up through the weekend. I got some pre-records for you guys, and we do have segments from the show. And then tomorrow's No Kings protest is probably going to get rowdy, so stay tuned, because should there be any very serious breaking news, of course, I will personally, I'll hop on, and we'll see what happens. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Graham, do you want to shout anything out?
Just I have a Substack, the Glinner Update. I got a memoir that's very hard to find, so you can buy it on Amazon, I think, called Tough Crowd. And yeah, that's about it.
Right on. Taylor.
Yep, Tayler USA, Tayler USA on X, and that's it.
I'm launching a new show called Twisted Plots. We cannot win the culture war if we're not making culture. I have experience doing this. I know it's something that you guys want and that you're really going to enjoy. We cannot let these lunatics dominate the entertainment space. Help me out. Go over to twistedplots.com. Contribute. I'm going to make a great show for you guys. I've got the experience. I've got the team. If you give me your support, I will be completely unstoppable.
And he's got the chutzpah.
Yeah. Oh, can I say, I never mentioned Friendly Fire, and Rob goes nuts. Rob Schneider is the guy who's kind of employing me to write some TV and
cool.
films over here. Yeah. So he's got a new company called Friendly Fire, so keep an eye out for it, I guess.
Right on.
Yeah.
Follow me at Ian Crossland, and Graham, your Glinner is your X account, right, yeah. GLINNER. And also wanted to remind you guys about Sora. I have updated my likeness into the, I'm now a hologram. So you go to Sora.com at Ian Crossland and command it to make videos of me doing all sorts of wild and crazy things. And you can also upload your own likeness, get ahead of the curve, and join the machine. Do it willingly before it's taken from you.
No, definitely not.
we can't really do that, you and me. It would
No.
be misused
No
so badly
chance.
against.
I'm Libby Emmons. You can find me on Twitter at Libby Emmons. And also, it would be great if you subscribe to my newsletter. I write it up every day about, the news and whatever random thing I'm thinking about. Today was about Zoran Mamdani complaining that Andrew Cuomo had never entered a mosque. And somehow this is a qualification. This is like a necessary qualification to be the mayor of New York City. You must have gone to a mosque, even if you're, an old Italian Christian guy.
What if Cuomo was like, and I never will?
But he didn't. Here's the thing. He bent the knee, Seamus.
No!
He bent
What a
the knee.
loser.
And he started saying, "Oh, my constituents.
Said,
I've been to my constituents." And he basically, he capitulated that this was a standard. So if Cuomo wins, he's going to be beholden to the DSA anyway. Your only chance is to vote for Curtis Sliwa, I think.
Disavow.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Slee was he's winning the meme vote. I was actually surprised to see.
Really?
Yeah, that's not a joke.
He's the only one who actually, I think, cares about quality of life in New York City.
The comments that I'm seeing from leftists, from like lib Twitter, is that Zoran says something like, I want to figure out how to make healthcare affordable for New Yorkers. Cuomo then says something like, I'm Italian, it's just the way I act. And then Sliwa says, 4 years ago, I was shot in the ass. I was going down the stairs. And people are like, I got to vote for this guy. So anyway.
He was shot in the back of a cab in 1992 by the mob, by like John Gotti.
Right on. So,
anyways, the newsletter, you can sign up for it at thepostmillennial.com/Libby. Thanks.
all right, everybody. We will be back throughout the weekend. And then, of course, on Monday. Thank you so much for hanging out. We'll see y'all then.